that will improve, provided that the support plus control is correct. Plantar fasciitis, turf toe, spurs, and pronation are the top four. Our goal is complicated. Create support that will coach your feet for maximum performance with comfort. Remember, your feet, you only get one pair. Let the experts at Jensen Comfort Shoes serve you. Your feet will thank you. We have a great selection of men's and women's dress, casual, and active footwear. For service and quality footwear, go to Jensen Comfort Shoes on White Bridge Road.
So many times guests come in with pictures from Instagram, Pinterest, and Facebook and are amazed that we have those rings in stock.
David Cooper, Vice President at Genesis Diamonds, talking about how Genesis stays on the cutting edge.
We pride ourselves of staying ahead of the curve of fashion and seeking what's new, what's hot all over the world, what's hot all over the internet, and having that in stock for you, where other stores are still chasing styles that were cool maybe 5 or 10 years ago.
Why settle for an outdated style or a stale design? Make the switch to Genesis and get the ring of her dreams with over 4,000 cutting-edge choices from the top bridal designers in the world.
We have the designer looks that you see everywhere in stock in a variety of metals, a variety of sizes and shapes, and a variety of budgets, so every customer can have exactly what they want.
Genesis Diamonds, where no compromise is ever necessary.
We are so honored and proud that so many people have made the switch to Genesis Diamonds and not only told their friends about Genesis, but have brought their friends to Genesis.
Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Ryan Porth here to share that Twin Spire Sportsbook has a special primetime play offer for the final round of golf this Sunday in Augusta. Sign up now using promo code PRIMETIME and get $50 on a $1 bet if any player makes a birdie during the final round. It could be Johnson, could be Spieth, or Rahm. All you need is one player to birdie one hole, and you'll go home a winner on Twin Spires. Void where prohibited. Terms and conditions at twinspires.com. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. For gambling problem, call or text the Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789.
Robbie Stanley.
I was waiting in anticipation for something to happen.
Joe Rexrode.
It's also 3-on-3. It's a little easy to score in 3-on-3. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can take this.
Get your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app. If you've missed any of today's show, just search Darren, Daunic, and Chase on Apple, Spotify, or on your favorite podcast platform.
He's like the Brent Favre of NFL, NFL coaches.
Brent Favre of coaches.
He's retiring and coming back.
Yeah.
How'd you get Dean back? One phone call?
No, he reached out to me. And then,
he reached out to you.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, keep going.
He said retirement's not for me. And so when I started going through the interviews, before I went on the interviews, I called him up and say, hey, this is what you really want to do? He said, yeah, absolutely. So it was nice because that is if you're going to be a first-time head coach and going to call plays, you need somebody experienced on that side.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that was a huge hire for us.
Dude, how great is he, man?
Oh, he's best. Yeah, no, I feel really fortunate because it alleviates a lot of headaches you're going to have early on. There's so much trust that he's got things covered on that side of the ball. Man, we meet every day or where we go over stuff, but Dean's the best. You don't feel like you have to micromanage anything that's going on over there.
That was new Falcons head coach Arthur Smith, former Titans offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, on Bussin' with the Boys podcast, Taylor Lewan and Will Compton. Before I say anything and before we go any further, your initial reaction from that is what?
My initial reaction is good for Arthur Smith, because that is by far the smartest move he's made so far as the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons by doing that. But it does make me think of, okay, so if it took one phone call for him to get Dean, why didn't? Because the story was out there last year that Dean was bored in retirement. So that we had conversations on the show of, well, should Vrabel call him? Like, would he want to come back? So did that happen? And if it did, then why didn't it work? And if it didn't happen, why didn't it happen? And I say that nothing against Jim Schwartz now that they have him, but Dean was so successful here and had the relationship with Vrabel. It does raise some questions in my mind.
But did he have what relationship did he have with Vrabel? That's what jumps out to me in this clip. And obviously you can you hear the reaction from Taylor and Will. So just play that part again, Elijah, where How did it happen again? How did Arthur Smith and Dean Pease come together again? Let's play that again, and then we'll cut it off once he says it.
He's retiring and coming back.
Yeah.
How'd you get Dean back?
One phone call?
No, he reached out to me. And then,
He reached out to you.
yeah.
Okay, right
I
there.
like that.
Right
Okay,
there.
keep going.
That's what this is what stopped me in my tracks. So hold on a second. You say one phone call. No, that was Will Compton. I think it was Will or Taylor. I think it was Will.
It was Will.
One phone call. Actually, no, I didn't even make the phone call. He called me. So I asked, what was their relationship again? Because if you remember, when this came out, I said many times on this show, why is Dean Pease going to Atlanta?
Why is
I thought it was Vrabel and Dean Pease that had the relationship, and it was Vrabel that brought him out of retirement, and it was because of Vrabel and why he came out of retirement and came here. I thought it was about Vrabel and Dean. Vrabel and Dean. And I kept asking the question, well, why does anybody else think that's weird that he's in Atlanta? He follows Arthur Smith, his first ever head coaching job, down to Atlanta, and I thought it was Mike and Dean. Why? I mean, Arthur's the offensive-minded guy. Why? Obviously, they had to work together. Here, they were both the coordinators. But remember, I said that many, many times.
You did.
And here we sit, and now we hear Arthur Smith say, yeah, Dean reached out to me. So what is the relationship again with Mike and Dean?
That's a good question. I don't know.
He's reached out to me. Hey, Art, need a defensive coordinator?
Well, doesn't that go back to what we said of the story that came out last fall of Dean being bored in retirement?
Well,
and so
and remember,
that's why he's
weren't they getting asked that in press conferences too, like Mike and John Robinson? Or maybe it was just Mike.
Yeah.
I think Vrabel was getting asked that, right? And he, of course, I mean, I understand he's not going to talk about that, and he completely.
That's one of those like, what do you want me to say?
Yeah, right. And I understand.
There's nothing that he can really add to that. So
Yeah.
I understand too.
So if you heard our show, what's it been now? 3 weeks probably?
It was on St. Patrick's Day.
St. Patrick's Day. Okay. We should have remembered that. On St. Patrick's Day, Wesley Woodyard came on here, former Titans linebacker, and created quite the news piece when, look, we just asked the questions, and he answered the questions, I feel, just honestly. Now, he could have worded them differently. Wesley could have, there's always ways to answer the way that you wanted him answered. Clearly,
Sure.
He wanted to say something. He didn't come on here to make this statement, but he just was answering it honestly, and he clearly wanted to I guess, get this off his chest. But here's one piece of Wesley Woodyard on our show on St. Patrick's Day.
I was really surprised. Definitely, I think that again comes along to, that Vrabel wanted to be the guy that was calling the defensive plays, and Coach Pease was very well at proving himself. He's already proved himself. He's already been through this. So when it comes to why should I loosen up my play calling ability just so you can make play calls? Like, I'm going to be a great defensive coordinator no matter what. I don't need you stepping on my toes. And you can kind of see a little bit of those heads bumping during the games last year, and 2 years ago, I should say. And you could kind of see that uncomfortableness, with Coach Pease. And it was a shock to everybody because Coach Pease, he coached Vrabel. So you automatically think that, all right, you brought me out of retirement. I'm going to retire with you on top. We're going to go win some Super Bowls. We're going to be the most dominant defense we can. And I'm going to sell off into the sunset and enjoy my retirement. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case.
So these are some of the things that we've been talking about. We've been talking about Mike Vrabel and his press conferences, and you just put yourself, everybody out there listening, you just think about whatever job you're at, and just try to put yourself in Dean Pease's shoes. I mean, if you can answer it a different way, I'd love to hear your answer in a different way. And Chase, I know you can relate to this. I know I can relate to this. Been doing this a long time. And if you don't think things like this have come up the course of my career, then, give me a break. I would say anybody who's been doing anything for a certain amount of time, probably something like this has factored in. Could you blame Dean Pease? Think about the skins he's got on the wall. Think about how long he's been doing it, how well respected he is. That you're going to come here, come out of retirement, a guy that you coached, a guy that you think highly of, and then the guy basically the 1 year that he was a defensive coordinator, now he's the head coach, seems like he's not ready to relinquish being a defensive coordinator and is trying to tell you what to do and meddle in your business. I mean, nobody's saying that the head coach doesn't have input. I mean, we get it. Head coach has got final say in everything when it comes to the staff, but it's how you choose to handle that with that title and with that power. And I have to believe a guy like Dean Pease comes in here thinking, well, Mike's going to let me do my thing, right? He knows what I'm all about. I coached him. He's seen my work. He knows what I'm about. He's bringing me in here to let me do my thing. And then at some point, maybe, and he did, and then at some point it wasn't good enough anymore. It's like, put yourself in Dean Pease's shoes. Like, how did you expect him to react? Do you think he was happy? Like, I think the reason Dean Pease went off into retirement is because of the things that we've been hearing. He's like, I don't need this. I'm not going to do things this way. I mean, what do you need me for? You clearly want to run this defense. What do you need me for? Well, I guess I'll just go back into retirement. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because how many times have you heard us say, you hire somebody to do a job, but you don't let them do the job, okay? And that's what this is. But there are some people that just want to be everything, and they want to do everything, and they want to show you that, yeah, I run the show. I am the show. And, the thing with Vrabel is he's been given opportunities to explain himself, and he won't.
He won't.
And he won't do it.
Why not?
Well, I mean, because all that does is, you've heard the phrase of, well, you just answered the question by not answering it. I mean, that's essentially what he's doing. He is allowing people, media, fans, whatever, to then start assuming that they're right because he won't answer questions. And when you have Dean Pease, and, I remember when Mike got the job and they announced Dean Pease as the defensive coordinator, it was the same thing. He was the first phone call. I talked him out of retirement. He was who I wanted to be here. And you saw the success right away. And we saw it in the 2 seasons that he was the defensive coordinator. But the more people you talk to and you hear those things of Mike being a micromanager, which, as you just said, in some cases as the head coach, you have to, let me rephrase this. You have to know everything going on. It's your house. So you want to know everything that's going on in your house, but it doesn't mean you have to go and touch everything. It doesn't mean that you have to go and say, no, you know what? You put the lamp there. I want it over there. And that's kind of what it feels like he does. And so therefore, people like that tend to bring in people that aren't going to push back. They're going to be yes people. And they're going to say, sure, whatever you want. I'm happy to be here and have a job, so I'll do that. I don't think Arthur was that way. I think you saw Arthur, especially in his second year as OC, he knew what he wanted to do, and he knew he wanted to go be a head coach, and so he probably pushed a little bit. And Mike being a defensive guy, it was probably easier on that side of the ball for him to do that. But Dean has enough skins on the wall that he can go, you know what, I don't need to do this. I'll go take a year off and then see what else is out
well,
there.
I don't even know if he said, I'll see what else. I just think he just said enough is enough. Like I don't need to look. In my experiences over the years, It's not about, and by the way, it's not about you trying to push back. You're saying, look, I don't need, nobody tells me what to, I just can understand and relate because I've been in situations where, there was a lot of micromanaging going on behind the scenes and want to break down every segment, break down everything we do on the show. And I don't have a problem talking about the show. I don't have a problem talking about what we're doing. I get all that. Okay. It's just like coaches, right? In the room, they're assessing everything, and that's fine. What after a while it gets old is, and this is the feelings that I had, that I kind of feel like Dean had, is, look, if you think you've got all the answers and you want to do, then you just come over here and do it. How about you just come over here and sit in the seat and you turn the microphone on and you talk for 4 hours. You figure it out. Since you've got all the answers, you do it. I don't need to do this. I mean, clearly you want to do this, so you go do it. Show us how it's done, right? And it's like, I'm sure there had to have been a part of that with Dean. Like, look, if you want to do this, then just do it. In other words, if you want to be the defensive coordinator and you want to run the show, but you want to have the optics of me having the title, but you really want to secretly do it, then just do it.
Right.
You don't need me. Like, I understand that. And I'm not saying that's what Dean, but that's what it feels like. It's what it looks like to me. It looks like to me, Dean's going, you don't need me, Mike. Just do what you want to do. Clearly, you want to run this defense. You want it done your way. You want this done exactly through your eyes. I can't do that. I've got to be me.
Sure.
Just like going back to the radio example. I got to be me. Like, dude, I've told program directors, like, I can't be what you want me to be. I've got to be me. You've got the wrong person. You can't turn somebody into you have to be you, and you have to be real on the air, or it's not going to work. It's just like a relationship, right?
Sure.
In the room. I've always said, if you don't have the relationship on the show, it's not going to work. Like, you can only fake it for so long, right? It'll come through. The listeners are smart. They'll figure out that, the people on the show don't like each other.
Right.
They just will. You can't fake it. You can't fake chemistry. And so Dean's probably just going, hey, man, I felt like, if you want to do this, then you come over here and do it. Okay, sure. I don't need to be here. I'll just go back into retirement, and you run the defense. That's what it feels like to me.
And you have situations too, and I think this factors into Vrabel. It's well documented. His 1 year as DC in Houston, it wasn't very good, and I think that sticks with him. And so it's like last year, if you're trying to still figure out the whole title thing with Bowen, I mean, maybe there's some of that, and it wasn't very good. But it's like the guys like that just want to be successful at everything, and I love that drive. But you also have to be smart about it, especially when you're the head coach. When you're in that position, you got to know what you don't know. And if Dean Pease is telling you how to do it one way, I'm probably going to listen to Dean Pease, and I'm going to say, you know what, I'll follow you on this.
If you noticed, Arthur made a point, Chase, to say, I don't need to I don't know if he said micromanage, or I don't remember how he exactly worded it. But basically, like, why did he make a point to say, like, I don't need to tell him the day-to-day, right? I don't need to micromanage him. I'm just going to let him be him. Like, I do wonder if that was like a message. Like, I saw that going on in Nashville, and that's not the way it's going to be in Atlanta. I do wonder that.
I kind of took it that way.
Right? I mean, he made a point to say, like, I don't need to micromanage Dean. I don't need to be basically in there every day. Like, I know what Dean's bringing to the table. Like, I do wonder, was that said on purpose? Was there a little meaning behind that? All right, we'll come back. Hour number 2 of Darren, Daunic, and Chase next.
Hey, this is Dante Fabro, and this is Smashville.
Keeping into Forsberg, who fumbles it. Now here's Fabro, the shot, he scored!
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 1025 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Last year, Nashville Soccer Club defied the odds.
This is brilliant. This is sensational. This is Nashville SC dumping Toronto out of the playoffs.
Now it's time to keep building. It's soccer season in Tennessee, and it's time to get in. Don't miss the 2021 season opener Saturday, April 17th at 7:30 p.m. as Nashville SC takes on FC Cincinnati at home. Get in with season tickets on sale now at NashvilleSC.com.
With spring comes birds chirping, azaleas blooming, and the golf course is calling your name. T-Mobile and 102.5 The Game are celebrating spring and giving you and 3 friends the chance to win a stay-and-play experience at Hermitage Golf Course. Tune in each weekday at 4:15 to hear the key word to text in to win. The winner will receive a night stay for 4 at one of Hermitage Golf Course's on-site cottages and a round of golf for your foursome to play both the President's Reserve and the General Reserve courses. Good luck and hit 'em straight from T-Mobile, Hermitage Golf Course, and 102.5 The Game.
It's time to heat up with hot deals from Electronic Express. Huge savings in every department, including all 4K TVs, home and car audio, computers, smart home, housewares, mattresses, and more. Plus, get up to 36 months free financing. We have all your appliance needs in stock and ready to deliver. You won't find a lower price anywhere. We guarantee it. The deals are heating up at Electronic Express. We make it happen.
At Founders Brewing, we asked ourselves, what if we brewed a beer perfect for any occasion? A beer that makes a weekday feel more like the weekend, and the weekend feel more like an adventure. What if we celebrated taste and flavor and life's simple pleasures? And what if we brewed a beer that could go where you go without slowing you down? What if? Chase your what if with Founders All Day IPA. Low ABV and full flavor that goes where you go. Visit foundersbrewing.com to find All Day IPA.
A year ago in March, they were devastated by the Nashville tornado. Then COVID came along, but they are happy to announce a comeback. Bigger and better than ever. Boomba's Craft Pizza and Tap House in East Nashville will be reopening in April. They're back with an all-new look, including a 44-foot indoor-outdoor walk-up bar, 40-plus taps, 50-plus 72-inch big screen TVs, their signature massive video wall, their award-winning pizza, and great fun, as always. Boomba's Craft Pizza and Tap House in East Nashville. Pizza, beer, sports. We'll see you there, Nashville.
Goodyear knows the importance of keeping momentum as you head down the stretch. Momentum starts with movement. It's pulled from the air like a contested rebound. Momentum builds with steals and fast breaks, and is proven by deep threes as the shot clock expires. Momentum is how we change the game, and now it's time to discover where it can take us. Goodyear, more driven.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Wholesaling Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com. It's time for Darren, Daunic, and Chase, with hosts Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Second hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on this Thursday. Darren McFarland and Chase McCabe with you. Willie will join us in just a bit. The Masters T-Mobile 5G leaderboard brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. Yes, they are underway in Augusta, Georgia. And it looks like Hideki Matsuyama is -3, if I said that right. He is through 8 holes. And he is currently atop the leaderboard at -3. There are, 4 at -2. Kevin Kisner, Corey Connors, and that group is through 10. And 3 of them are through 10. 1 is through 6. Let's see if anybody's. Munoz is through 13. He's a -1. Here's a group that are getting close to finishing up. Hudson Swafford is through 17, is even. Michael Thompson through 17, even. Stuart Sink through 14 is even. Stenson, the same thing. Let's see. So
DJ just skipped one off the green.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it looked like some people from our group that goes to Gatlinburg.
Okay.
Aiming for the cup, and it skipped off.
Jason Day is through 8 and a +1. Koepka is through 7, also a +1. Bubba Watson through 7, a +1. I'm trying to find some notables. Dustin Johnson through 5, a +1. So big group of notable names at a +1. Also, Vijay Singh is a +1, but he's only through 3 holes. And
Lee Westwood's +3.
Yeah, he's through 5. Then there's a lot to, let's see, who goes later today. Fred Couples is going to tee off in about 20 minutes. Kuchar also in about 20, 25 minutes. Justin Rose. Phil Mickelson is later today. He's at around 12:15.
12:12, I guess specifically.
12:12 to be literal.
Right on the dot.
Excuse me. DeChambeau is at 12:36 if we're going to be literal. Adam Scott at 12:36. So there you go. There is your Jordan Spieth as well is in the last group. So there you go. There is your
Was Spieth
Masters leaderboard.
I didn't even think to look this morning who the favorite before tee off was.
By the way, that was brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. I was looking at that. Funny you bring it up. Jordan Spieth. Well, actually, I was looking at what the money has been. The most money has been put on Jordan Spieth and Justin Thomas.
Okay.
According to DraftKings. That's the percentage of handle. Handle is money. Bets, the most bets are on Jordan Spieth.
That's
the
not
most
surprising.
money is on Spieth and Thomas. DeChambeau is third in the money, and Dustin Johnson is fourth. Actually, Dustin Johnson and John Ram are fourth, tied for fourth for most money. That's according to DraftKings. You've also got Koepka in there. They've got the top 10 that the money was put on, and Koepka's in that group. McIlroy is 10th, 3% of the bets. So there you go. All right, we were talking about, and by the way, we're going to have Elliot Friedman on coming up at 1 o'clock, our weekly chat with him. It looks like we told you that New Jersey and the Islanders struck a deal.
Yeah, I just
yesterday. It looks like Florida and Chicago. So 2 teams in the Predators division, according to Pierre LeBrun, looks like they may be getting ready to strike a deal as well. Pierre LeBrun tweeting out, hearing out, Florida,
rumblings.
Chicago have a tentative trade in place. Blackhawks would be getting Brett Connolly and Riley Stillman. Yeah, I said that right.
Not Jared.
Riley Stillman as a part of the package, more of the deal to be put. So that was in the last 30 minutes from Pierre LeBrun. So maybe a Florida and Chicago deal.
It's completed.
It has completed?
Yep. Full trade, like you said, Connolly, Stillman, Henrik Borgstrom in the 7th, Carlson and Walmart coming the other way. Connolly has 2 more years at 3.5 average. Florida freeing up cap space as a part of this.
They freed up about $3.5 million, Florida.
Yeah. Hawks using their cap space to get 2 young players. So it begins. That's kind of what we were wondering, how in our conversations with David Poyle would things start to pick up, over the next few days when it comes to trades and the deadline. And it looks like they have.
So does that mean Chicago is going for it?
I mean, potentially. Going for what? Going for 4.
Well, I mean, they've added a couple players. I mean, Florida's shedding payroll. Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
I
3.5, 3.5.
Go for it is a little bit. But Connolly's had 40 plus goals and combined over the last 2 seasons. I mean, I think he's had 41 goals in the last 2 years. But I guess he has struggled big time this year.
Right.
So I don't know. I'm curious, what is the mindset of Chicago? We'll certainly get into this and more with Elliott.
I'm curious too of, and like these trades we've talked about today, I wouldn't put in the blockbuster category by any means,
No.
but as things pick up, because you've seen that before, monkey see, monkey do, does that make other GMs start to, oh, okay, well, they did one, so I got to do one. Does that start, or is it still going to be a little more tame than usual because of all the protocols?
Well, I heard Toronto was in on Palmieri, so you just have to believe that there's no way the Leafs are not going to do anything.
Oh, I think, yeah. I mean, I think they have to in their position. They have a good team now, but, you see the good teams add.
Yeah, I do. Usually, maybe this is the start of something. You had also Eric Stahl get traded away. I mean, the Sabres are going to continue to shed, right? They can't be done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, Eric Stahl was what, last week?
Yeah, and that was, I don't know if it was I thought it was at the beginning of this
2
week.
weeks.
Maybe, has it been that long?
I feel like it's been a while.
Okay. I feel like these last couple of trades here, maybe that gets the ball rolling. We are, it is 5 days out, so you would think.
I'm just curious to see how truly active it's going to be. If it's going to be just like here and there, or if there is going to be an absolute flurry of trades on deadline day. And I don't think anyone really knows the answer to that.
Well, we'll see if Elliott knows the answer, what he's hearing, because usually he's pretty good about hearing stuff. So maybe we'll get something very interesting out of him coming up to start the final hour of the program. We'll get back to this on the other side because we've got more to add. This is very intriguing. And by the way, I'm going to pose something else to you on the other side as well that kind of hit me when listening to Bussin' with Boys podcast, and see what you think about that. We'll do that on the other side as you listen to Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
The NHL trade deadline is coming up April 12th.
I feel like the teams that were going to be buyers, I'm just not sure what's changed.
What will the Predators do before that date?
The Predators, they're back in the race. The phone doesn't ring as much when you don't look as desperate. And so what does all that mean about the prices?
The only place to get coverage of your Predators at the trade deadline is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Bar Lines in the Omni Hotel, one of Nashville's favorite downtown destinations, gets raving reviews from our locals. They have 22 big screen TVs, live music, great food, and it's a favorite spot to watch your Nashville Predators. Great food is an understatement. How about award-winning hot wings, Nashville hot chicken sandwiches, smoked brisket tacos, and in-house homemade pimento cheese sandwiches? Bar Lines, an official Predators preferred watch party location, just 1 block from Bridgestone in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Tired of overpaying for out-of-date office phones? True mobility is crucial in today's work environment. Take your office phone to your house, connect to the internet, or through mobile apps, and stay connected to employees and customers seamlessly. Get auto attendant, video calls, voicemail, music on hold. An IP phone system from TechCore makes communication possible anytime, anywhere. Stop wasting time and money. Contact Jamie Wolf at TechCore today at techcore1.com. or call 615-410-4550. That's 615-410-4550. IP work phones can save money, make communication easier, and protect you from ransomware. Just back up your computer through your phone. Contact Jamie Wolf at TechCore. He can show you how. Go to techcore1.com. That's techcore1.com. techcore1.com. Or call 615-410-4550.
Nashville Sounds Baseball is back, and you can hear every game this season on ESPN 94.9. It's been over 500 days without professional baseball in Nashville, and First Horizon Park is ready to welcome you back safely. Tuesday, May 11th is opening day as the club hosts Memphis, and with new ballpark safety policies, the ticket availability is going to be extremely limited. Alternative ticket options include booking a luxury suite for a night of Sounds Baseball, or watching the game from the relaxing patio at Third and Home, Nashville's newest sports bar. See you at the ballpark for Nashville Sounds opening day, May 11th. Go to NashvilleSounds.com for more.
I'm Dr. Andrea Russo, a cardiologist. Maybe you're waiting to talk to your doctor right now, but if you're having an irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness, don't wait. This could be a serious condition like atrial fibrillation, which can make you about 5 times more likely to have a stroke. If you're having these symptoms, don't wait. Talk to a doctor by phone, online, or in person.
Brought to you by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
ESPN's Teron Davenport breaks down the Titans like no other.
When I say options, I'm talking about drafting a player that could become good, but isn't right now.
Catch TD Mondays at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Fridays at 8. Plus, the Talking with TD podcast drops every Wednesday.
Yeah, definitely. That dude's a player.
Only on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Nashville, it's Mike Greenberg, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
But with what you're saying, is it sometimes maybe he's a little too close and he needs to back off a little bit?
As a guy that was in that locker room, I definitely think so. I think sometimes you can strangle your team, you can strangle your defensive guys, and it definitely shows. So I definitely think Mike is the man for the job, for sure. Never saying that he's not the man for the job. But, at some point, there has to be some maturity in that defense. And the only way you let your defense mature is if you step back and you let them make that move towards greatness.
Wesley Woodyard on St. Patrick's Day on this program. Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. We'll talk to Jim Washburn coming up at high noon. He can tell us a little bit more about the hire of Jim Schwartz. But right now, we're talking about something that came out on Bussin' with the Boys. Taylor Lewan and Will Compton. Arthur Smith was their guest. Of course, former Titans offensive coordinator. Guy spent almost a decade in the Titans organization, now the head coach with the Falcons. And if you didn't hear the clip, this is what he told Will and Taylor about how he got Dean Pease to come out of retirement and be his DC.
Coach Pease retiring and coming back.
Yeah.
How'd you get Dean back?
One
phone call?
No, he reached out to me. And then,
He reached out to you.
yeah.
I like that. Okay,
Said-
keep
said-
going.
He said retirement's not for me. And so when I started going through the interviews, before I went on the interviews, I called him up and said, hey, this is what you really want to do? He said, yeah, absolutely. So it was nice because that is if you're going to be a first-time head coach and going to call plays, you need somebody experienced on that side.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So that was a huge hire for us.
Dude, how great is he, man?
He's best. Yeah, no, I feel really fortunate because it alleviates a lot of headaches you're going to have early on. There's so much trust that he's got things covered on that side of the ball. Man, we meet every day or where we go over stuff, but Dean's the best. You don't feel like you have to micromanage anything that's going on over there.
There you go. That was what I was looking for. So he did say micromanage. I don't feel like I have to micromanage anything that's going on over there. It's like, why did he feel the need to say that if he didn't see things firsthand or in his discussions with Dean about his time here? Don't you think that's just a coincidence? I mean, that can't be a coincidence, right? It's not. I guess that's what I'm getting at. It's not a coincidence. I don't believe. Like, for him to say that means that they've talked about that. And he's not thinking about it when he's saying it. But what he just told us, in my opinion, is he just said, yeah, I don't need to micromanage Dean like what was going on in Nashville. I trust him to do his thing. Because my guess is Dean told him, yeah, I'm ready to come out of retirement. Have any interest for a defensive coordinator? Somebody that, you'll let them handle that side of the ball? And I'm sure, as you just heard from Arthur's comments, yeah.
Yeah.
So here is, before we go a little bit deeper into this, here's the question.
I have a question.
Okay. And here is the question I have for you about this podcast. At what point do you feel like this podcast is going to become, air quotes, an issue behind the scenes?
It's a good question. Because they've had some, I know we've talked about a few things that have come off that bus.
No doubt.
And Vrabel's been on it.
Things came out of that interview.
Yeah. Some things definitely came out of that interview. I wonder if it has, but at the same time, what are you going to do? There's nothing in the CBA that says they can't do it. There's nothing.
Yes, I understand, but come on. There's things can be said.
Sure.
We strongly feel like, right? We strongly suggest that maybe tabling this podcast while you're playing is maybe in the best. Yeah, look, there's ways to say things, right? Like they're not going to say, they're not going to come out and say, you will shut this down or else. I mean, I guess they could, but that would create just a whole new set of problems and some new tension that I don't think they particularly want or need.
I'll say this. I think that Will Compton coming back to the Titans last year the podcast had a lot to do with that. I do think that because, you have them both in the building now. So you have you definitely know what's going on if you're the Titans. Now, Will's a free agent, and I know the first year they did it, but that was also, it was the beginning. Barstool wasn't involved. Now Barstool's involved. They have it with Barstool. So I do believe that Will, and he made some big plays for him. He's a good special teams guy. I'm not saying that Will Compton's a bad player by any means, but I think that him coming back.
You're talking about on his end.
No, I'm talking about that, they looked at it as, well, maybe I'm speculating, but that, hey, maybe it's good we have them both on the team with them doing that.
I can't go down there. I don't know, but I can't go there with that. I don't think the podcast had anything to do with bringing Will back, but we'll just have to agree to disagree on that.
That's fine.
Without either one of us knowing, I can't imagine.
Let's
that
be
the
honest.
general manager,
I don't think we really know what's going on over there.
Well, I just how a podcast would come into that discussion, I have no idea. That would be honestly perplexing to me. That would have me going, really? You decided to bring back a guy because of a podcast?
Well, not just, I mean,
I understand, but
player,
the fact that you would even bring that up and behind the closed doors would be mind blowing to me. Mind blowing. But I'm not saying it didn't happen. But it would be mind blowing. But I just wonder, when is this going to become an issue behind the scenes?
Yeah,
because they have to be cringing. This is yet again, it's just not a good look. And once again, as we've talked about with Mike Vrabel, without knowing for sure, you're just not sure what he enjoys and what he doesn't. Some of this stuff, maybe I do feel like he enjoys. I think he likes the confrontation. He likes the cat and mouse game. He likes the back and forth. And I think there's other times when he's, whether it's internal Mike Vrabel that I've pointed out that grabs him and shakes him and says, stop it, stop. Or if it's somebody behind the scenes going, Mike, dial it down, man. Mike, come on. You don't go down that rabbit hole. It'll end poorly. I don't know which one, what category this fits in of what he enjoys and what he doesn't, because I do think there is a big portion of what we talk about that he just thoroughly enjoys. It's the competitor in him. I think he probably played his career like this. Everybody doubted me, nobody, and I just kept proving everybody wrong. And that's fine. That mentality, whatever motivates people, I never have a problem with. Whatever motivates you out there listening in your everyday life, with your job or whatever it may be, is fine. There is no wrong answer on what motivates you. You have to do what fits for you. But I do think in this case, when you're the head coach, you do have to take a different approach. Things that worked as a player aren't necessarily going to work now as a head coach, because you're now on the other side. And it's just like both of us have been on both sides of the glass. Yes, it was a long time ago, but I've been on both sides of the glass, and you have to operate differently on both sides of the glass, right? And they're not the same.
No.
And being a head coach and being a player is not the same. And so I do wonder, at what point are they going to be like, this stuff, we don't want this stuff out there. Most franchises and organizations don't want this stuff out there for people like us to talk about, right?
Well,
I think that's pretty big news, honestly. That's why we're playing. That's why we're talking about. Arthur Smith just came on there and just told the starting left tackle for the Titans that, Dean Pease reached out to me. Dean Pease called me and said, hey, retirement's not for me. You need a DC? When we thought everything was about the relationship between the head coach here and Dean, and it doesn't feel that way anymore. It definitely doesn't feel like the relationship. It feels like the relationship was fractured in his time here.
So you don't believe that, because that was my question. You don't believe that Dean at some point in time, whether it was last year or during the offseason, reached out to Vrabel and said, hey, you know, what's going on? I hate retirement. You need anything? You want me to do anything?
No, I do not.
I don't believe that happened either.
I believe it was fractured here. I believe Dean walked away going, I just, you know, this guy wants to run the defense. He wants to be the head coach in the DC. He doesn't need me. I believe that's what Dean said. And so he just said, I'll just go back into retirement. And why would he want to re-sign back up to that? I don't think he necessarily wanted to. I think the writing was on the wall for him. He just said, Mike Vrabel doesn't need me as the defensive coordinator. He wants to run the show. He wants to run the defense. So I just need to get out of his way and let him run the defense, which is what created the entire mess that we've talked about over and over and over again on the show for how long now? Of this whole silliness that happened last year of, hey, we're not going to talk about who's the DC. We're just going to ignore it and hope you guys will ignore it. And we will not say anything about what is going on with the DC, the defensive coordinator. It's just, you know, this guy's here and this guy's here. And then at the end of the season, when it's all over, he wants to go, hey, guys, hey, I'm here to tell you, this was Shane Bowen's defense. Yeah, he was the defensive coordinator all year. Really? Well, that's interesting. So you want to reveal that now. That makes no sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. Whenever you're now hearing what Arthur Smith is saying about Dean Pease, you're now hearing what Wesley Woodyard said about that whole dynamic behind the scenes on St. Patrick's Day. And you're now here to tell us when the season ended, you want us to buy, you want us to believe, you are selling that last year Shane Bowen was running that defense. You're selling. I'm not buying. I'll pass.
Right. I'll say this. So if I'm Mike Vrabel,
so do you feel differently? Do you think he did reach out or no?
No, I don't. And that's why that is what leads me to this. If I am Mike Vrabel, and you know, one thing that I guess you can respect, but also it's the reason we're having these conversations, is when he makes a decision, this is his decision and he's running the ship. He's the head coach. But if I'm him and I'm hearing, you know, I hear all this stuff, because as we've said, we know that he knows what's being said. We know that he listens or has people that listens, and he knows what's being said about him. And he knows that one of his players just talked to his former OC. He's probably heard that interview. The most revealing and telling interview that Mike Vrabel has done since he's been the head coach of the Titans was on that bus. If I'm him, I'm calling up Taylor and going, I'm your guest next week. Let's do it. And then you squash this stuff.
Yeah, but how is he going to squash it? What if everything we're saying is true?
Then say it. Then just admit it at that point. Because
really?
If you admit
think that's how Vrabel, that's how he operates? Really?
No. But if you want people to stop asking the same questions at your press conferences and you getting pissed off about it, then
but this goes back to what does he like and what doesn't he like? Maybe he likes this. Maybe he loves this. This is the cat and mouse game that he does love.
If he truly loves this, then he would, because remember the day that they won the game and he acted like they lost 36-0? And we blasted him. And we blasted him for it.
Mm-hmm.
What happened the next press conference?
He was sunshine and roses.
Right. If he truly just didn't care or loved this stuff, he wouldn't have changed. But he changed. He changed on the next one. And you see it. Like you can see this like pulling from both sides. I love that we have video now and you can actually see what I do. That he's getting pulled from both sides of, I really just want to go out there and like, I don't care. I just want, this is how I'm going to be. And then it's like, no, I have to pull it back. And maybe that's behind the scenes. Maybe there are people saying, hey, you got to pull it back. But I don't think so. I think it's just, I think that something was said and so now it's kind of in his head. And But it's like if it truly didn't bother him and he truly just like, hey, this is what it's going to be, then he would never change.
Yeah, but I'm going to go back to what you said. Like Mike Vrabel should say, "I'm going on Bussin' with the Boys" next podcast. If all this stuff is true, what is he going to say? How is he going to clear the air if all this is what was going on behind the scenes? So how is he going to clear this all up?
I mean, it would be just.
Do you want him to? Is he going to lie?
No, I want him to be truthful. I want him to answer the questions. Now he'd give us something else to talk about.
So now you think. By the way, he went all last year of that being a storyline, and he gave us the whole. I can't believe you guys care about it's just a title. I mean, what's the big deal? I mean, he went down so many stupid rabbit holes last year trying to cover this whole thing up, and you think today he's going to okay.
Well, he likes Taylor.
Right.
He likes Taylor Lewan and Will Compton.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, I don't think so. What is he supposed to say? Is he supposed to go on the podcast and be like, "Look, everything everybody's saying is true. I'm a control freak. I know. I probably shouldn't have. I shouldn't have told Dean what to do. I shouldn't have had my hands and fingerprints all over the defense. I should have, backed it up a little bit. I should have stayed back a little bit more. I know. I went in there and I just acted like I was the defensive coordinator, and I just started dictating how things are. I know. I look back now and I regret that. You think that's what Mike Vrabel's going to do?
No.
Okay. Right. I don't think anybody would answer yes.
No.
No one would answer yes.
But because you control he could control that platform more than anything.
How? What? How? Be Mike Vrabel. Tell me to do it. Do the interview.
He'll say, Taylor, you're going to have me on. Will, you're going to have me on. This is what we're going to talk about.
Mike, clear the air about what was really going on. Like, let's just talk about the other side of the ball. Let's talk about it. This is Taylor. Okay, Mike, you've got the go.
Well,
tell me how he's going to present this.
Dean, Dean did a lot of great things for us, and he came to me and he said he was ready to hang it up, and we knew Shane was there, wanted to give Shane a chance at it, and I've said from the very beginning that I'm in all the meetings and I know what's going on with this football team and with our players, and that's what it was. So nothing changed from that standpoint, and I saw that Dean had said that maybe he was bored with retirement, but I go back to what I said when he retired the second time of I can't pull him out of retirement again. So wish Dean nothing but the best. He and Arthur will do a great job there in Atlanta, but Shane's our guy, and I want to double down on that and say that Shane is the defensive coordinator. Shane is going to be running this defense. There you go.
Okay, now take your Mike Vrabel hat off. Now that podcast has been released. Now put on your Darren, Daunic, and Chase hat. Now your reaction, Chase.
I'm reacting as me?
You're reacting to what you just heard from Mike Vrabel on the podcast. What's your reaction? Is your reaction? Oh man, guys, I just want to, Darren and Willie, I just want to say right now, I think we can put this to bed. I think after listening to that right there, we can put all this to bed. Let's move on. Nothing to see here. Is that what you would say?
Probably not. I'd probably say some words the FCC wouldn't like.
I don't really. I mean, we've been around each other now we're getting close to a decade. So I'm just not buying that you would come on and say that. In fact, I feel pretty good about that.
Keith says, why in the world would he pull his players into this on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com? Well, the players have a podcast and they've had him on. I mean, like he's been on there before.
Well, to Keith's point though, are you going to start airing things through your players podcast? Is that how your message is going to get out?
It sounds like.
By the way, aren't you kind of putting them? Aren't you going to put them in a weird spot? Like, what if Taylor and Will want to do a bunch of follow-ups to that little coach speak that you just put out there? Well, we wish Dean the best in his future endeavors, and he served us well, and Shane Bowen has earned his stripes and the opportunity. I mean, that was a lot of coach speak. So when Taylor and Will want to come back with some, follow-ups to that nice little coach speak that you did, how's that going to work? Do they have the freedom to do that?
Will can do it. Will's not on the team.
Well, yeah, but Will may still want to be on the team.
Yeah, well, I don't know. But, I mean, didn't Arthur put them in a tough position? He answered a question. I mean, they asked him, how did the Dean Pease thing happen? He answered the question, but didn't he kind of put them in a spot?
No, they reacted like we would have reacted if Arthur Smith would have been on this show and we asked him that question and he said that, because we would have been like, whoa, oh.
Like he called you.
Yeah, I would have. I mean, I honestly would have had the same exact reaction we heard Taylor and Will do. Oh,
I would love to know, because, you know, Taylor and Vrabel seem to have a pretty good relationship, and Will too. I would love to know if they asked him, like, hey, what, did he not want to come back here? I would love to know that.
I would love to know why Mike Vrabel feels like this is the best direction for his defense. Like, that's what everybody wants to know. Like, once again, we don't know more than you behind the scenes. You understand the lay of the land when it comes to your coaching staff and your plans and your schemes and the players that you're going after and what you envision for the 2021 season. Why can't you figure out how to lay that out? It doesn't mean everybody's going to lap it up and buy it. I mean, we're all not going to be kittens and this is a bowl of milk. But why not just come out and tell everybody? That's what people want to know. Like, why do you want to run from this conversation? Running from the conversation suggests, in my mind, you're hiding from something. Running from this conversation and not wanting to talk about it and present it in your way says you've got something to hide. Because why are you uncomfortable with the subject you should feel very comfortable about? Clearly you believe in Shane Bowen. Clearly you believe in yourself. Clearly you believe that this is going to get better. Then why can't you just convey that to everybody? What is so hard about that? If you truly believe that, and I believe he does, then why run from the topic? Why run from the subject matter?
Right.
Why not just tell people, like, you don't, guys, I know these are fair questions, but here's the deal. We have got, I'm not going to give you our game plan. I'm not going to tell you what we're going to do this upcoming season with the new players and what we're going to change to get this defense fixed. All I can tell you is I like the direction and I like where it's going behind the scenes. I like our discussions. I like what we're talking about. I like what we're presenting behind the scenes for 2021. I like the players that we've added. And I know that we've still got more work to do with the draft, but Shane is tireless worker behind the scenes. Our staff is up all day and all night. We're trying to figure this out, and we're going to do the best we can. And I feel very confident about that. I mean, he's never had a problem telling everybody how confident he is. I mean, why not just present it that way? And he can do a better job than me. I have to be very generic because I don't see what he sees behind the scenes. He can answer that question way better than me. If you're asking me about this show, I can go more in depth about what goes on behind the scenes than anybody else. But when it comes to his world, I can't. I have got to be very generic. So why doesn't he just come out and lay it out and present it? And then it's up to everybody whether they believe it or not. And a lot will, and I'm sure, whatever the numbers may, I don't know how it'll shake out, but there'll be plenty that won't agree with it. But that's how it works. I mean, that's really anything, right? Doesn't matter what he says. People are going to like it and they're going to agree with it, and people aren't. Just like this show, just like anything in life. I don't understand, Chase, why he will not attempt that. Why he just completely ignores the subject matter and chose Monday to start listing his coaches. Like, this is not going to go away as long as you keep doing this. It's like Peter Laviolette. As long as you keep ignoring Kyle Turris or players that you aren't playing or players that are injured, as long as you just keep ignoring the questions and you literally shut down, it just makes people want to ask more. It doesn't go away.
Do you think that he would handle this stuff differently if they were losing? Like if they weren't a playoff team? I know he's been here 3 years, but they made the playoffs 2 out of the 3 and almost did in his first year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that he would handle it differently if they weren't a winning football team?
Well, the good news for him is I don't know, because, the year that they didn't was his first year. In the last 2 years, they've made a run to the AFC Championship game, and they've won a division. So
right.
The good news for him is, after talking about all the things that we talk about when it comes to the head coach, the best way around all this is just to keep winning, and that's what he's done. He's done a really good job of getting the results. It's all about results. And so I don't know. I don't know how he would handle a disastrous season. I hope that, for his sake, that he doesn't have to do that. He doesn't have to find out. And for us covering him, I mean, nobody wants to see that. But I don't know how he handles a 5-12 season next year. What if they went 5-12 and it just nothing went right? I don't know how he would react. I mean, we've talked about it. You just brought up the example. I don't remember what was the game. I mean, they were
Indy. I think
maybe.
it was after the win against
impressive
Indy.
win. They're rolling along. Everything is good. And he came on and did his normal Monday presser, and you would think they just lost 45-0 and they didn't have a win on the season. So he reacted like that after a big win and the season was going well. So you're asking me, how does he react if everything is a disaster? Like, things have been a disaster, like the kicking game, special teams, defense. Things have been some of his play calling, some of his decisions have been a disaster. But you know what? In the end, they've overcome it. And that's really the name of the game. They overcome it and they win. But you're asking me, what about when all those things happen and they're not winning? You compound it with not winning. How does he react? Boy, I have no idea.
Yeah, because I mean, you use the Peter Laviolette reference. I mean, we saw what that was like at the end, and I mean, Peter was pretty consistent about just how he didn't want to talk about injuries, and he did play a lot of things close to the vest. But towards the end, when things were getting away from him, and you could just tell it was getting to the end, the Kyle Turris stuff. I mean, it got even worse, and the people asking the questions, they just don't want to deal with that now.
Well,
it's like, now you have to.
Well, you're asking me, how does Mike Vrabel deal with losses? Answer that. How did Peter Laviolette deal with losses?
A minute two.
Minute two. You're being generous. Depending on the game.
52 seconds.
He really got to the point where he didn't even want to talk anymore after losses. Right. And so, once again, how do you think that's going to go over? Like, that's part of your job. You are the head coach.
Sure.
And especially at that sport, when you play 82 games, this just in. Breaking news sounder, you're going to lose games. You're going to lose, more games than you want. I know. Nobody's gone 82-0. And it's just part of the job. And, oh, by the way, you've done this for a long time. Like, losing is a part of it. It stinks. But he got to the point where he literally didn't even want to talk about anything after losses. And, I mean, how do you think that's going to play out? People have jobs to do. By the way, the fans deserve to hear that. They pay for that. They want to hear your reaction. You are paid to be a head coach. What are your thoughts to what's going on? People want to know. People covering your sport, covering your team, and that relay the information out there to the fans. And your fans want to know. Like, I don't think coaches in any sport, well, what gives you the right to say, I only want to talk after wins? Well, that's really hard. I only talk when it's good. I don't want to talk when it's bad. That's just not going to fly. So you're asking me to answer something we haven't seen. Luckily for Mike Vrabel, we haven't seen it. They haven't been under 500 on his watch, which is, a credit to him and his staff. They've been above 500 for all 3 years.
And we have, like I said, we've praised him when he's deserved it. He's a good coach. He's a winning coach. But these are some things that they keep us talking. And there's a text I want to read when we come back that I know is going to get you fired up because it got me fired up. So we'll do that on the other side.
All right. We know that everybody's favorite tournament is going on right now. Yeah, the golfers are in Augusta, Georgia. They have teed off today, and round one is underway. They're all going to try to compete for that green jacket, and DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting you right in the middle of all that action, giving you a shot to land one on the green, just like these golfers are going to try to do for the next 4 days. This week, DraftKings is giving you 100-1 odds on the golfer of your choosing to finish in the top 10. That's right. If you haven't tried DraftKings, this is the time. And all you have to do is turn $1 into $100. It's that simple. Pick a golfer, and in this weekend's tournament, if they finish in the top 10, you cash $100. That's 100-1 odds. And this offer doesn't come around very often. So sign up right now at DraftKings Sportsbook and get in on all the action. And all you have to do, once again, is choose a golfer. They've teed off. Round 1 is underway to finish in the top 10. And if that happens, you win. You turn $1 into $100. It's safe, secure, and reliable. So you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. All you have to do is download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app. Right now, use the promo code 1025GAME. And when you sign up, turn $1 into $100 if your golfer that you choose finishes in the top 10. This is for a limited time only. DraftKings Sportsbook. You must be 21 years of age or older. Tennessee only. Restrictions do apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and needs help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line, 1-800-889-9789.
Take us wherever you may go.
There are 2 guys on my untouchable list.
Tune us in anywhere, anytime.
Every team's got those. That's my point.
Just search the Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Skies will continue to clear out for the rest of the day. Temperatures will be cooler, only topping out in the lower 70s. Our next storm system moves in Friday afternoon.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face truck today.
What's better than watching a Preds game live? Watching a Preds game live from a suite with your friends. Thanks to Kroger and Dr. Pepper, you could win that awesome experience. How do you enter? Well, it's simple. Visit your local Middle Tennessee Kroger. Take a picture with the Dr. Pepper and the Preds reusable grocery bag. Post it to social media tagging the Preds, Kroger, and Dr. Pepper. Lucky winners will be chosen at random to win a suite for an upcoming game. All proceeds of the Preds reusable bag benefit Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. So head to your local Kroger and pick up a bag today. No purchase or payment is necessary to enter or win. A purchase or payment will not increase your chances of winning. Odds of winning will depend on the total number of eligible entries received for the applicable sweepstakes or promotion. Void where prohibited by law.
Homeowners, if your mortgage rate starts with a 3, you can save a ton of money with Loan Pronto's zero-cost refi. Hey, it's Willie Daunic. You got to check out Loan Pronto. LoanPronto.com. It's all new here with an all-digital platform. They make home mortgage refinancing fast and easy with super low rates and 0 closing costs. You can end up with a lower house payment with no cash out of your pocket. It's incredible. Loan Pronto makes it easy. They can close in 3 to 4 weeks with no paperwork and no big bank hassle. Loan Pronto can cover all your closing costs. No points, no attorney fees. In fact, most Loan Pronto refis don't even require an appraisal. So call now and ask about the Loan Pronto zero-cost refi. 615-499-5780. Do it now and even skip your next 2 house payments. Call Loan Pronto. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781. Subject to lender approval. No cash refi not available on all loans.
Hal Gill runs on Dunkin', America's favorite coffee. I grew up in Boston on Dunkin' and so happy that Nashville has my favorite Dunkin' locations all over town. Energize your day with Dunkin's extensive line of specialty coffees and espresso-based beverages. Enjoy Dunkin's iced flavor blasted coffee, lattes, cappuccinos, Americanos, and more. Dunkin' has the most delicious donuts, muffins, bagels, and all-day breakfast sandwiches in the business. Hope to see you at the new Next Gen Dunkin' in my neck of the woods on Harding Pike in Belmead.
Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Stonecrest in Smyrna offers world-class orthopedic care. The doctors at this location specialize in hand, knee, shoulder, hip, foot, ankle, and spine. Make better use of your time at Houston Clinic Orthopedics with on-site diagnostics and testing, timely appointments, and easy access to the facility. Get back to enjoying life. Schedule your appointment online at tn.houston.com. Houston Clinic Orthopedics at TriStar Stonecrest in Smyrna. When experience matters, trust Houston Clinic Orthopedics.
Jared Stillman,
Dad, why are we doing this? Because I said so. That's how Mike Vrabel is running the operation, at least with the fans.
and company.
Getting the "because I said so" answer doesn't give us anything.
Tune in Stillman and Company for your drive home. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Interact with Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Don't forget, next hour, make sure you're listening. You'll get that cue to call at some point from 12 until 1 o'clock for your chance to be in the arena Saturday night, Bridgestone Arena to be exact, when the Predators host the Lightning. So be listening next hour for your cue to call. Right now, you hear that music. We must go to the desk of the Masters leaderboard. Here's Chase.
Hello, friends. I'm Jim Nance. Your leaderboard right now, Matsuyama still leads at 3 under through 10. But he is tied with a guy that I can't say his last name. Bazuna, that guy, also at -3. Kim and Simpson, they are tied for third, -2. Stenson, Zalatoris, Harmon, Connors, and a host of others, all at 1 under par, including John Ram and Paul Casey as well. Others that have actually wrapped up their day or are close to wrapping up their day: Thompson, Munoz, Langer, Champ, Bubba Watson, Kevka, and Shifley are all at even. Waiting for some others to tee off a little later today as we look down the leaderboard to try and find you some notables. Vijay Singh at 1 over is one of those notables. And that's your Masters leaderboard.
Brought to you by who, Jim?
Brought to you by T-Mobile, I believe. You have the copy. I don't have the copy.
Okay.
My bad.
Brought to you by T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network.
Thank you,
There you
Elijah. Wasn't my bad what
And that
somebody
was
said one time when they were out back and somebody said a bad word?
My bad. You mean when we were in Cool Springs at a chicken
Yes.
joint?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Jarrell
Willie, how are
Casey-
you?
And Jarrell Casey told a very funny story. It was very, very animated. Yeah, back here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, Willie is joined into the mix. So you said you had a text to read.
I do have a text to read that is going to get you fired up. Now, they didn't put their name. You got to put your name when you're going to say stuff like
First
this.
strike already.
On our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, quote, "It's kind of embarrassing that all of Nashville media is so hung up on an overrated defensive coordinator that hasn't been on the team in a year. Move on, LOL."
Wow. Dean Pease is overrated?
I don't think Dean Pease is overrated.
I would say that's a hot take. I don't think he's overrated. I don't think anybody has said he's the greatest defensive coordinator of all time in NFL history, but overrated? Wow.
It was
that's a
certainly
little
better
strong.
than what was, last year.
I would say that the Titans have been pretty blessed in that time frame to have Dick LeBeau and Dean Pease come through here. I thought the defenses at times overachieved on their watch. And all I know is since they've left and before they got here, I remember what the defenses look like. And could you tell me that's just a coincidence? That it's drastically different?
I don't think so.
I mean,
Are you guys wishing that he would have come back? That was the way to go. That they brought
No.
Dean Pease back.
No. We
Is that what
we
you're saying?
just have been reacting to Arthur Smith yesterday on Bussin' with the Boys, or 2 days ago, whenever he was on their podcast, and just talking about how Dean reached out to him, said, and just talking about what Wesley Woodyard, we played the clips of Wesley Woodyard. So it's just literally about what happened here. And why did it get to this point? And if Mike Vrabel feels like they're better off without Dean Pease, to the texter's point, which we should put a name, we just want to be able to call you by your name. That
Even if it's a fake name.
Wait, we didn't.
And you're entitled to your opinion.
We're not going to know who you are. Yeah, you can
Just
say
give us
whatever
a
you
name,
want.
Charlie. Even if that's not your name, just give us.
Let's
a name.
go. What is the name? If people want to use the fake name, what is the fake name that they should use?
Lonnie.
You know what I mean? Like we should have. What is it?
Lonnie.
Edgar.
Lonnie.
Lonnie.
Okay.
Lonnie.
Lonnie. Willie. Wani. Willie
Lonnie.
says Lonnie.
Some of these are whiny.
Chase, what's the fake name they should use?
Edgar.
Edgar. Okay. That's not bad. I like that. Let's go with.
See, Lonnie could be a guy or a girl.
Careful.
That's why either one works.
Edgar's pretty good. I like that one.
Thank you.
Edgar's pretty good. Why Lonnie? Well, Willie, I'm
because it
very
could be a boy or a girl.
Okay. Well, if we want to go with that theme, then let's do an SNL skit. Let's go with Pat.
Pat, yeah, Pat's good.
Let's go with AA Ron. AA Ron. So here's on the overrated part. Like in 2018, they had 39 sacks, 43 in 2019, and those aren't huge numbers by any means. But then it went to 19. I'm sorry. We just got another vote. Rusty Shackelford, which is an ode to King of the Hill. Kevin says Willie D, Willie with an IE is the fake name.
Fake name.
That's well done. Well done. The problem is we can't see that, or you can.
Yeah.
But nobody can see that, right? That's part of the fun is
right.
The Willie with the IE. That's good though. Well done.
But the Rusty Shackelford made me laugh.
I see the anonymous texters point to a degree. I mean, they've moved on. I mean, it's over. We're kind of closing the book on it. We have this off season to probably close the book, but they've made the decision. It's kind of like, and Dean Pease is getting up there in age. I think it's a great story that he's come out of retirement, but it's hard to deal with. Is this his last year? Is this not his last year? Is he retired? Is he coming out of retirement? And so, they've taken a new chapter here.
We'll come back. We'll start the third hour of the DDC with Jim Washburn. We do that next on ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Sissons tries to go to the front. He scores! The Predators' pursuit of a playoff spot continues when they close out their series against the Red Wings. Pre-game at 5:30. Face-off at 6:30. On ESPN 102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Hey, Smashville, it's Robbie Stanley, and I want to tell you about my friends at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. They're locally owned and operated, and right now they're running a great tune-up special for one system for only $55. You heard that right? A great tune-up special for only $55. One of the many ways to save at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, and right now you can get 6 months, no interest financing available on repairs. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling offering premium service without the premium price. Do yourself a favor and check them out at springhillac.com, your proud partner of Smashville Live.
When it comes to hybrid technology, nobody has more hybrid models than Toyota, and nobody has bigger savings, like $1,500 customer cash on a new all-wheel drive Venza and the all-new Sienna minivan. Get $1,750 on the exciting new Camry hybrid and the best-in-class Highlander hybrid, and $2,000 customer cash on a stylish new Corolla hybrid, but only through May 3rd. For all Toyota offers, go to buyattoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places.
All aboard the Mayday Express. Bavarian Beer House is hosting a May 1st Mayday train excursion that loops through Middle Tennessee. Enjoy live folk music and the festively decorated train cars while you eat and drink delicious German food and beer. More info and tickets at beerhousenashville.com.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and I'm so excited that baseball is back. There's nothing quite like watching a game with the great sunny weather, maybe a cold drink at the game as well, and, of course, a little action on FanDuel Sportsbook as well. If you've never bet on baseball before, now is the perfect time to give it a shot. FanDuel is letting new users swing for the fences risk-free, which means you can get up to $1,000 back if your first bet doesn't win. And once you have an account, you can get up to $25 back each day if your same-game parlay bet falls one leg short. This way, you can combine multiple bets for an even bigger win all season long. And when you win on FanDuel, they'll pay you in as little as 24 hours. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code ROB to get in on the action. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789.
If you've been thinking about remodeling your home's kitchen or bath, contact the countertop experts at Smoky Mountain Tops. Willie Daunic here, and we installed Smoky Mountain Top surfacing in our kitchen years ago. It's remained durable and super easy to clean up. Smoky Mountain Tops is proud to offer the new prestigious Vidara quartz for your kitchen or bath countertops. Vidara surfaces are ideal for use in almost any interior application. Check out the stunning new Vidara quartz shown at Smoky Mountain Top Studio. Contact the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops. Quality, service, and dedication. Visit SmokyMountainTops.com.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Wholesale Link Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com. It's time for Darren, Daunic, and Chase, with hosts Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Hour number 3, Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game, streaming on the Game Nashville app. You can also watch us on Twitch and Twitter and Facebook as well, YouTube. Chase McCabe, Willie Daunic here with you. Darren has stepped away for just a second, but will rejoin us here shortly. Excited about our next guest, Willie D, as I know you guys spent a lot of time talking to this gentleman over the years during his time with the Tennessee Titans. Longtime defensive line coach Jim Washburn is on the line with us. Coach, how you doing?
Good. How are y'all?
We are doing fantastic and appreciate you taking the time to join us today. A lot of good memories here in Nashville for you, I am sure.
Yeah, bunch real good.
So we wanted to get your opinion on Jim Schwartz. He's coming back to Nashville as a senior defensive assistant on Mike Vrabel's staff. Obviously, you two coached together for a long time here with the Titans, and I want to say in Philadelphia too, if I'm not mistaken. But what is Detroit? What does Jim Schwartz bring to this Titan staff, and what are some things that you learned from him along the way during your time coaching together?
He's just a really, really good football coach. He understands the game. I don't think I've ever seen anybody. Well, I don't think I've ever seen anybody work harder than Jim. He can grind all day. He kept crazy hours. He worked. He never stopped. But he gets it. He's an intellectual that can think as a regular dude, But he's really good. And I think is he going to be part-time, a couple days a week?
They haven't really specified. It's just a senior defensive assistant, so he'll be at practice and be Shane Bowen is the defensive coordinator, but just I guess another brain to pick when you're Mike Vrabel and trying to run this defense. Yeah.
Well, he's really good. It sort of surprised me he did that. He was, I think he's, you got a shelf life anywhere, and he was at Philadelphia long enough, and he's been away from his family, so I knew he was coming home just to spend more time with his kids as they're growing up and getting ready to leave home. And it would surprise me if he would launch all the way back into the grind of a regular season. But I know it sounds to me like he's going to help out, so that's good for him. Keeps him busy while he's recharging his batteries a little bit, I guess.
Do people lose sight of just with whether you're a position coach or a coordinator or a head coach, just how much a recharge of the batteries truly is needed with the grind that you guys go through?
Yeah, I mean, firefighters, cops, business people. I don't know. People put in long, hard hours, and it gets to you. I mean, at the end of the year, you look in the mirror and you go, "Good gosh, I look awful." I told Sandy one day, my wife, I said, "Hey, Sandy, you ought to see McGinnis. He looks like he's 75 years old." And she said, "Come here." And she grabbed me and put me in front of the mirror. I'm like, "God almighty, I look worse than he does." You're just shot. You're just the end of the year. You're worn out. So anyway, he needed to recharge. He'd been going at it for a long time.
I want to ask you about, so Jeffrey Simmons is somebody here with the Titans that we obviously are looking to do big things, and the comparisons are dangerous and shouldn't do them, but the Albert comparison comes up quite a bit. When did you see things click with Albert Hainsworth and then it clicked for you that you knew, okay, this guy can be a force in the NFL and be somebody that is going to make a lot of money, and he's gonna be a game wrecker on defense?
Yeah, it took a while. Albert was 20 when we drafted him, and he had 2 years eligibility left at UT, I believe. I can't remember, but he was very immature and young, and just as a lot of them are. We've had some other guys that are 20, and it's just it's different. But it took Albert, maybe into his 4th year before he came around. But the thing is, we played a defense that let him be Albert. If I had tried to pound a square peg in a round hole with him as far as step this way, read exactly like Reed, do this, do that, he would have never, ever, ever been the player he was. But we ran a defense, which, Jim ran, and we ran at Philly and Detroit and the Dolphins too, that let the down guys attack. And that's what made him all the money. We let him play. A lot of people, they make you read, they say, "Hey, if the guard does this, you do this. The guard does this, you do this." Well, we just attack the guard, So I don't know. I don't know much about the Titans. I don't follow them at all. So, I mean, I don't know. I've heard his name and I heard a lot of good things about him, but sure, it's about time for him if he's going to be a great one to be a great one. Has he made a Pro Bowl yet?
No, yeah, he's just going into his 3rd year.
Okay, well, it's time. It's time to be that kind of guy. I told I work out players every week. I had 4 tackles last week, 4 tackles, NFL tackles this week come in, and I told Quinnen Williams this week, I said, "Going into your 3rd year, right?" And he said, "Right." I said, it's time for you to blossom. This is your year. By the 3rd year, you're not doing it by then, you're probably not going to do it. And so Simmons, he's right about that time where they start blossoming. I know he's got a lot of talent.
We're talking to Coach Jim Washburn, the former defensive line coach for a long time for the Tennessee Titans. And, Coach, I want to ask you about, the transition that took place, when Jim Schwartz came in. And when you came in, Jeff Fisher had that background with Buddy Ryan and the Bears, and it was aggressive. It was bring great blitzers like a Blaine Bishop from time to time. And it evolved, and Jim Schwartz got to the point you just described, when you had Albert Hainsworth in his heyday, it was much more of let's get the pressure with the 4-man rush. You had Kyle Vanden Bosch, who complimented him so well, and you didn't need to blitz. I just think that's a great mindset of a defensive coordinator like Jim Schwartz, who can adapt to the personnel that you have. Is that fair to say that that's a great attribute of his?
Yeah, it really is. He told me that we're gonna, you go get them. And we, I didn't meet with the other coaches as much as most defensive line coaches did because, Jim, I did what I did up front. We got the ends wide, let them play. That was sort of what I wanted to do. Jim was all for it. And, I know this is a family show, but he says, you let your guys mess things up and we'll clean things up behind you. And it wasn't mess. It was another word.
That's right. I think I know where you're going, but I think that's a great.
You let your guys. Let me make sure I don't say it. F things up, and we're going to clean things up. And that played into the hands of our guys. And now Cleveland's doing it. 49ers is doing it. The Jets are doing it. The Chargers were trying to do it last year. I mean, there's a lot of people want to do that, but there's some, that are going to play their linemen and say, hey, you guys keep the guards and centers off the linebackers. That made me vilely sick. I don't get that. And, you're sitting there reading and catching. I didn't want to pay for the same ground twice. And so anyway, that's what helped him. And that was Jim. Jim says, you go get him. And he was I thought, everybody talks about how smart he is, but that's not all he is. He's committed and everything else. But he was so far ahead of anybody. I coached with one coordinator in the NFL. It was so bad on third down, he couldn't get the call out. I mean, he sucked. He was awful. And anyway, Schwartz, after first down, would tell me on the headsets, I'm going to blitz him this third down. And he already knew where he was going 2 plays ahead. And because we usually rush 4, and he would call hot on third down, so we'd rush. But he was so far ahead of the game, it was unbelievable. The time the referee had spotted the ball after first down, he already had the second down play called, the defense call.
Yeah.
I mean, Chuck Cecil would be up there screaming about something the ref did, and he'd have to tell him shut up because he was going to call the play. He didn't want anybody talking because he was going to get the play out, which gave the coaches, but more importantly, gave the players so much confidence. He was decisive. And there's so many of these coaches I'm around. And let me tell you something. I've coached the last 3 years. I've coached a whole lot of NFL players that come down to work, and they tell me some stuff that's just shocking. They have to stand up and wait till the last minute to get the call, But he gave our guys time to get ready and play because he would get the call to them. Did you see Clemson play? Did you see Clemson play in the playoffs?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
How many times were they not even down in their stances, not ready when the ball snapped?
Too many. They got shredded.
It was incredible.
Well, Coach, I want to ask you too that this is an interesting dynamic, at least from my perspective, and I'd love to know what you think. Here comes Jim Schwartz, as you mentioned. We don't know exactly what the role is going to be. If he's there every day, if he's going to be on the field every day, if it's just a couple of times a week, consulting role. But as you bring your ideas to a group that's established, if you're part of that group, how do you want to approach that? Because you just mentioned a great attribute of Jim Schwartz. Intellectual, but the ability to communicate in terms everybody understands. I would think that would serve him well here. But what do you think the key is to meshing his ideas with the Titans' ideas?
I got no idea. I mean, there's a whole lot of egos. Schwartz has got an ego. The head dude got a big ego. The new coordinator has got an ego. I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure. It'll probably be interesting.
Yeah. Well, one thing
I'm glad I'm not there.
Well, one of the things we always appreciate about you.
I wanted one voice, one guy.
Yeah.
Tell us what we're going to do. So anyway.
Well, this is one thing we always will remember about you and all those training camp practices that we observed. And, you were always a guy that caught people's attention, the way you got people's motors running and things like that. And you said it just now a few minutes ago. You're still working with young defensive linemen that are trying to get better. What do you think is the number one thing that you try to teach, that you try to instill in these guys that's the most important pathway to success in the NFL for a defensive lineman?
Study and work your craft. I ask these guys, what do you guys do with your own teams? And I'm shocked. Pissing me off. I'm shocked. And they said, our D-line coach likes scheme, but he doesn't work with fundamentals. And this is what I'm getting from 85% of them. our coach doesn't work it. There's a guy I had last year. I said, how much pass rush do you work at practice? He said, well, me and this other dude go out before practice starts and maybe work a few moves or something. I said, no. How much time do you spend in practice working on pass rush? And the guy said none. 3 guys the other day said none. I said, how in the world they expect you to rush the passer and you don't work on it? Well, it's just all scheme, coach. The head coaches are offensive dudes usually, and they want more team. Jim Schwartz gave us 40 minutes of individual every day. That's not including the 25 minutes I used in pre-practice. We just went out and worked. And I mean, it sounds like, people don't value the fundamentals. Everybody wants to be a PowerPoint genius coach, like that little dude out in, the Rams? That little guy out in the Rams? They want to be like that, and they don't understand. It's still about technique, and it always will be.
So, Coach, in your opinion,
that's my deal. I mean, I don't understand. I can't fathom that. Somebody said Chase Young's in the last game. Redskins played the Eagles. My son's with the Eagles, so I watched the game. Tony Dungy made Chase Young out to be the next Deacon Jones. Chase Young had 7.5 sacks, 42 tackles. I had a 7th-round draft choice rookie here one time that had 8 sacks and 42 tackles. Carlos Hall. I mean, so I just don't think that what I'm getting from these guys is nobody's working fundamentals and technique as much as they should. So anyway, that's my platform there. I'll get off my box. So.
No,
we're enjoying the platform.
I like it.
Because it's tough. I mean, you know what? Coaches call me, and they still do. Coaches come down and spend, a day at my farm down there and want to talk ball and everything, and they want to talk scheme. I don't want to talk scheme.
So it's more about technique and individual preparation technique for you than it is scheme. That's how an effective pass rush is. Because
come on. If anybody says different, they're crazy.
So in your,
I got fired one time by a coach that said, you care more about your players than you do about the team. I went, that's fair. Yeah, that's a long time ago. So don't try to figure out who it was. But years ago. So.
Well, it's interesting. As we talk to you about this, Coach, the Titans have struggled in pass rush the last couple of years. Last year in particular, I think they only had 19 sacks. So that's a huge area that they're trying to fix. So getting your perspective on this is just fascinating for us.
Yeah. I mean,
so if you
don't, I don't know. I don't know what they do. I mean, I really don't know. I don't follow. Somebody said, "Are you not a Titan fan after 12 years?" And I went, "No. When my paycheck stopped saying Titans, I care less."
So if you're teaching somebody coming out of college and they come to you and they say, "Coach, help me become an effective pass rusher," scheme aside, what are some of the first things that you're teaching them to get to the quarterback?
Well, just have a plan. Have a plan, basic rush package for yourself. Find things that you do well. Don't try to copy Vaughn Miller. Can't do all that. We just try to, when I work with them, we spend a lot of time, just all individual down at D1 in Franklin. We just try to find something they do well and just work specific drills for what they want to do. And hey, let me tell you something. I'm no big deal. I'm no great pass rush coach, that's for sure. All right, because there's a lot of years that my guys just suck. Okay, but that's the way I do it. I don't think it's very in vogue anymore to tell a 6-year guy who's been in 2 Pro Bowls he could change this and be better. I worked with a guy last year, maybe 20 different workouts, and he did not do one thing I told him to do when he played in the season. So, I can't do it, but you can help him. You can help him be better. Tony Brown, Dave Ball, Jacob Ford, those guys had 8, 7, 8, 9 sacks. Carlos Hall. A lot of them were just backups, but they worked so hard. Dave Ball, Will Hayes, all those guys would come out. Jason Jones would come out to practice. They come out 30 minutes and want to work pass rush. We worked it year round, and it ain't me. It ain't got nothing to do with Washburn. It doesn't, trust me. but it's just working and crafting your trade. You got to work at it. You got to sleep pass rush. You got to eat pass rush. You got to think about it all the time. John Tierlink, the great coach of the Colts, that's all he cared about. That was his life. I'm going to tell you something. If you're a defensive line coach or teaching pass rushers, it better be your life, not a sideline.
Absolutely. Well, Coach,
You guys got me all pissed.
We got the motor running, didn't we?
I was just getting out of Planet Fitness, and I passed the TV, and it says Biden trying to outlaw guns and stuff, and I got pissed, and I said, I've got to calm down before I talk to these guys on the radio. Now I'm pissed again. So,
well, we're sorry
luck,
sorry we got you going there, but
I'm not pissed. I'm just saying that's just the way I felt. You know what? I'm 71-year-old washed up dude, so I mean, big deal. I don't have any answers.
Oh, you got plenty of answers, and we appreciate you giving us some today and taking the time to join us. It's good to catch up with you.
You know what? Let me just say this real quick. That new GM from the Titans,
Mm-hmm.
he has done an outstanding job. I think Mike Vrabel's done an outstanding job. I think those guys have done a really nice job. I do. And the personnel people, they put together a really, really good football team. And I applaud them on all that. So I'm certainly not talking down about the Titans.
No, absolutely.
Matter of fact, I got a really good friend named Terrell Williams. T. Williams is coaches over there, and he's probably one of the top finest people I've ever met my whole life. So, I wish them the best. I think they've done good.
Absolutely. We appreciate your time today, Coach. Good to catch up with you.
Yeah, y'all too. See you.
Jim Washburn, longtime defensive line coach in the NFL, and of course with the Tennessee Titans back in the Jeff Fisher days. Good to catch up with him. A lot to react to from that. But first, it is my time to talk about my friends at BetMGM, because they make that tournament that's going on in Augusta even more exciting with a special offer for new customers. Simply sign up today and place a $1 moneyline wager on any golfer to win. And if a birdie is made by any golfer during the tournament, you'll win $100 in free bets, regardless of your bet's outcome. It's that easy. Just use the bonus code 1025GAME100 when you make your first bet to take advantage of this offer. Experience golf's greatest moments like never before with the king of sportsbooks' innovative parlay selection features, boosted odds specials, daily promotions, and much more. Download the app or go to betmgm.com. Use that bonus code 1025GAME100 to win $100 in free bets if any golfer makes a birdie. BetMGM is the place to bet with confidence on golf and your favorite sports all year long. New customer offer, paid in free bets. You must be 21 years or older, must be in Tennessee. Visit betmgm.com for a full list of terms and conditions. For problem gambling support, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
It's game day in Smashville.
Cutting scores! Well, Cutting took the feed from Yossi.
The Red Hot Predators seek another key win in their playoff push when they battle the Red Wings.
So we are putting more pucks to the net where there can be a second and third opportunity for a shot.
Pre-game at 5:30, face-off at 6:30 on Smashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
If you've been thinking about remodeling your home's kitchen or bath, contact the countertop experts at Smoky Mountain Tops. Willie Daunic here, and we installed Smoky Mountain Top surfacing in our kitchen years ago. It's remained durable and super easy to clean up. Smoky Mountain Tops is proud to offer the new prestigious Vidara quartz for your kitchen or bath countertops. Vidara surfaces are ideal for use in almost any interior application. Check out the stunning new Vidara quartz shown at Smoky Mountain Top Studio. Contact the pros at Smoky Mountain Tops. Quality, service, and dedication. Visit SmokyMountainTops.com.
Hey, it's Mark Howard here to tell you about my friends at Apple Collision Centers. Listen, nobody likes to be in an automobile accident. Let Apple Collision ease your stress, and take care of your vehicle repair. They're homegrown here in Nashville, conveniently located around Old Hickory Lake with 3 locations. Ask for Tommy Rippey in Old Hickory, Daniel Neville in Hendersonville, or Chris Brooks in Gallatin, who combined for over 75 years experience. Let them know Mark sent you, and they'll take great care of you. Online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Ryan Porth here to share that Twin Spire Sportsbook has a special primetime play offer for the final round of golf this Sunday in Augusta. Sign up now using promo code PRIMETIME and get $50 on a $1 bet if any player makes a birdie during the final round. It could be Johnson, could be Spieth, or Rahm. All you need is one player to birdie one hole, and you'll go home a winner on Twin Spires. Void where prohibited. Terms and conditions at twinspires.com. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. For gambling problem, call or text the Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789.
With no fees or minimums on checking and savings accounts, banking with Capital One is like the easiest decision in the history of decisions. Kind of like Taylor Swift choosing what to wear.
It's looking kind of chilly out today. I think I'll go with a cardigan.
Yep, even easier than that. And with our top-rated app, you can bank anytime, anywhere, making Capital One an even easier decision. That's banking reimagined. What's in your wallet?
New consumer accounts only. Approval required. Terms apply. Capital One N.A. member FDIC.
For the ones finding new ways to ensure the job always gets done. For the ones wearing many hats. For the ones who are hands-on, even from far away. And the ones keeping business moving forward. We are Grainger, offering supplies and solutions for every industry, with 24/7 support and experienced staff at over 250 local branches. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Starting May 4th. Play ball! Every home run.
Swung on, driven in the air. Go!
Every strikeout.
Strike 3 called.
Every game.
Sounds win!
Your home for Nashville Sounds Baseball is Nashville's home for ESPN Radio.
ESPN
94.9 in the Game Nashville app.
Hey, this is Ryan Ellis. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Don't forget, tomorrow I'll be listening from 10 to 2. Some point in the show, we're going to give you an opportunity to call in and win some free beer. Yeah, free beer. $25 gift card to Bavarian Beer House, located at Opry Mills Mall. Can't think of a better way to get the weekend started right there than some free beer. So be listening tomorrow. We'll give you that opportunity. Don't forget, also this hour, remember we told you from 12 to 1, be listening, cue to call. You can be in the arena Saturday night, Predators versus the Lightning. Jim Washburn. If you've never heard him before,
legend.
If you think that was fun, you should hear him out on the practice field. I'll just leave it at that. Although you cannot air it.
No.
You could not air half of the words he uses on the practice field, but to say he was animated on the practice field is putting it very lightly.
I told Elijah before the break, I said this will, or before he came on, I said this will be fun. This guy has made 300-pound men cry. so this will be fun.
But you know what he got? Results.
He did. I'm mad at myself because I thought about it right after we let him go, but didn't he have the board, like the Millionaires board or something like that? It was like the guys that, they would all leave, but basically the guys that got huge contracts for the work that they did with him and with the Titans.
It's well documented. We've talked about it many times on this show. And it was a credit to what he was doing and members on that staff, because so many times, and it was a credit to Floyd Reese at the time, the general manager, that they were not willing to overpay these guys. And they would have success here, and fans would call in. As Willie would know, we would take calls and be like, how could you let Travis LeBoy go? What are you thinking? Are you out of your mind? And, they would get the big contract elsewhere, and typically, more times than not, their production would go way down, and it really would not work wherever they went. Very, very few times did they get burned by letting somebody go and they tear it up somewhere else.
Yeah, it's not like those guys, stopped being who they were. They continued on in their career for a long time, but they did a good job of identifying the priority. Who is the guy that we can't lose, and who can we have faith that Jim Washburn can replace, right? We'll get the next crew in here, and he'll make something out of it for us. He felt the same way I think Floyd did about Mike Munchak on the offensive line, right? I don't have to use my first pick on a guard or tackle a lot of times. I'll get the guy in the second or the third round because I feel like Mike Munchak will make a player out of these guys. So that was definitely the philosophy there. But what a piece of work. I thought we got some great insight on Jim Schwartz there. But I love his answer on, how would you approach it if you're the guy, you're coming in with your new ideas, you haven't worked with any of these guys. So what's the key? He says, I don't know. Right? He said, that would be tough. He basically said, I want to hear one voice, right? The worst thing you can do is to have too many cooks in the kitchen, right? So that will be a challenge, I think. And I'm sure Mike Vrabel has thought of it. I'm sure Shane Bowen has thought of it. But I think Jim Schwartz is the kind of personality that will be aware of this. And I think he will know how to avoid the traps. He's been through it all. I thought that was another great line by Jim Washburn. He goes, well, I don't know exactly what he said because he's an intellectual guy that can talk in a language everybody can understand, right? A regular dude, he said, right? Is that what he said?
Yeah, he's just basically
he's a smart guy, but he talks like a regular dude, right? That's the perfect thing, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't talk over your head.
Yeah. Look,
People are loving it.
We've said this before. You can have all the greatest information in the world. If you don't translate to radio, more times than not, we're not going to have you on, even though you've got great info. Like, you have to be able to translate to the audience. You have to be able, like I said, you can have all the great stats in the world or all the great info in the world. If it doesn't translate, people won't take it in. They're not listening to what you say. It becomes mute, right? And so there are other people that don't have the same information. They don't have the same stats, but they translate to the audience. They translate to the radio, and it's more effective because they translate. And so what he's saying is this guy's not only smart, but he can also talk to the audience. He can talk to people, and they can understand. In other words, he translates to the audience. People aren't going, he's not lulling them to sleep with all of his great information. His analytics. And sometimes over the years, we've had people on that are just super smart, got great info, and they've just lulled us and the audience to sleep. And that's not good for a show. That's not good for radio. I thought that was, to me, I took it as a huge compliment to Jim Schwartz.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people are texting in saying how much they loved that interview and that we need to have Coach Wash on more. So.
I mean,
glad you all enjoyed it.
I try to live by that. I mean, I try to dumb it down. I mean, I don't want to be talking over. So I try to bring it down.
You can't
and
dumb
not
it down.
Show, how smart I really am. So I try to dumb it down with my Kentucky education. And if anybody believes
that's
the art form, I've got some land to sell you.
But it's an art form of what Jim Washburn's talking about, right? Jim Washburn, he sees it pretty simply, right? Give me my guys. I'll work with my guys. Let's not overcomplicate it. But the game of football, the scheme is important, right? You can't have no scheme. You got to have a good scheme. But the important thing is you don't have people playing slower because they're thinking too much. And you make sure that there is time carved out there for individual development, right? That was another piece of info we got from Jim Washburn, how much he was getting feedback from players that he works with from all around the league,
right?
That they're not working as much individually on their craft. It's more of just, okay, you come out and we do team stuff. And I get that, right? But the practice is broken up into two parts, right? There's individual drills where you work on your skills, you work on your technique, and then you try to blend it in with the scheme. If you're doing too much of one or the other, then you're probably going to fall behind. There's going to be a deficiency there.
What's your favorite phrase of Trent Dilfer's to bring up, Darren? The quiet time.
Oh yeah, he's always talked about the quiet time, and that's
right.
That's the time spent honing your craft that nobody sees, nobody talks about, right? It's
Right.
the work you have to put in behind the scenes that doesn't get any attention, that nobody's writing about, nobody's talking about on shows like this, nobody's videoing. It's the quiet time is the work you put in. I mean, we've always laughed at people think, man, you guys got the greatest. You just work from 10 to 2. Well, actually, nobody sees, what you have to do to sit here and talk for 4 hours, like the quiet time that you spend. Now, a lot of it is cool stuff, right? Like watching sporting events, like boo-hoo, oh, give me a shoulder, oh, I had to watch this game for our job. Like nobody's going to feel sorry for that. But there is a lot of work and preparation, especially when you think about some of the people we bring on the show to lend a certain perspective, like a Jim Washburn or others. You have to think about that stuff. You have to talk about those things. You have to plan for those things. And, I'm certainly not going to compare our show or any sports talk radio show in the country to what it takes to compete at that level as a professional athlete or a coach in professional sports, because their quiet time is pretty significant. Because if you do, and here's the beauty of the quiet time that Trent Dilfer's referencing. If you don't put it in, it doesn't matter whether anybody reports on it or not. You know what? It'll come out in the end.
Yeah.
You know why? Because you won't be
notice.
around long. You just won't be around long. I mean, we were talking about how many times have I brought up Matt Nagy? Like, isn't it interesting that he keeps talking about Trubisky's work ethic? Like how many times does the head coach call out the quarterback for his work ethic or lack of? In other words, not spending enough time at the office, not putting in the work behind the scenes, the quiet time that it takes. Now, I don't know if Matt Nagy's some great head coach yet, but it's very clear how he felt about Trubisky's work ethic. And this was the 3rd pick overall in the draft. He was taken before Mahomes and Watson. Not his fault. That's the Bears' fault. But now he's a backup in Buffalo. I mean, nobody's even giving him a chance to be a starter right now. If you don't put in the work, and unfortunately, there's been quarterbacks here that didn't put in the work, or players. And if you don't put in the work, then it eventually you'll get washed out of the league. It will show. I mean, there's not very many people that can pull off not having the work ethic it takes at this level and still survive.
But that's I think the point that Washburn was making about Schwartz. He put in all the time.
Yep.
And Schwartz was big and is big into analytics. Big time.
Yes, he is. Always was.
Once again, what's the key? Being able to take that stuff that you get, but put it in a language everybody understands. I think if you watch the movie Moneyball, one of the funniest parts of the movie is the disconnect, right, between the analytics guys, Brad Pitt and company, and the old school scouts that they sit there in that room and they're like, well, what do you like about this guy? I don't like it. He gets on base, but there's a disconnect, right? The old school scouts, they don't understand the numbers. You have to bring those guys in, right? Jim Washburn would probably be proud to tell you he's one of those guys. He's one of the old school guys sitting in the room, right? You need those guys. That's what time has proven about
you need
analytics.
A blend of both. You're right.
You need both.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got to have a guy that can talk the language of both, right? That's where Jim Schwartz, I think, has really made his hay, because an old school guy like Washburn has the utmost respect for Jim Schwartz, who is, as he put it, an intellectual guy. So I think that's what's going to be fun to see how that blends with Mike Vrabel, right? That'll be the challenge of how do you get the fruits of what Jim Schwartz has to offer in his role? Because as Jim Schwartz, you say, is he part-time? He's there a couple times a week. He knows Jim Schwartz as a person, and he knows that you got to recharge the battery. He wants to spend some time with his family, and maybe he can't be completely all in there in the foxhole every day. So that's a fine art too, right? Because, those guys are tight when you're in there every day, right? So if you're a little bit of an outsider, how do you contribute the right way? These are all really interesting questions he's bringing up, when I don't know if anybody really knows the answer of how it's going to work until they try it. But he's got a lot to offer. We know that.
Sure. And I just, I hope that Vrabel and Bowen and all involved listen, and it's one of those things, if we'll use the consultant example, I look at a if you're consulting, it doesn't mean you have to do everything that person says. You don't have to take every single idea and apply it, but they're there to give you new ideas. And that's what I think the Titans are looking for, because, yes, we talked earlier, this team has won, but the fact that they won last year and won the division, it wasn't because of the defense. It's because of the offense. And this defense, they're not going to be able to get away with that for much longer. And I guess you can say that they realize that with the players that they have brought in this offseason, the hiring of Jim Schwartz to add something different. I think that shows you that they're recognizing that and trying to fix it. But you obviously, now you have to see the results, and you have to listen to some of these things, not necessarily all, but some of the things that Schwartz is going to offer.
We'll come back and wrap up the third hour. We'll get a Masters leaderboard. We'll get you ready for Elliot Freeman. But right now, Willie is going to give you a word about Lee Company.
All right, let me tell you about Lee Company, 615-567-1000 or leecompany.com. The next chapter in the Predators saga is in Detroit tonight. The banged-up Predators, final meeting with the Red Wings, who've got a few guys banged up as well, but it's a big, big game. Everybody's banged up this year. Who's kidding? Or at this time of year, who's kidding who? But Lee Company, if your air conditioning is banged up or anything else going on at your house that needs some fixing, there's a wide array of services, starting with your air conditioning, your heater, plumbing, and electric. That's their bread and butter. But they have other general maintenance areas and departments where they can come out and help you at home or at work. So if you've got an issue with some doors or windows, even something outside, even home improvement, if you're looking to upgrade a room, they can do that for you. LeeCompany.com. Check out their website and see what they have to offer. 615-567-1000. Lee Company has decades of expertise that can go to work for you. So give them a call, 615-567-1000.
Wanted a Bridgestone Arena for Saturday night's game against Tampa Bay? Be the third caller now to 615-737-1025, and you'll win a pair of tickets to watch the game live in Smithville. Your home for every moment of Predators action is right here
on ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Gradual clearing continues. Skies will get sunnier and sunnier this afternoon. However, it will be cooler, topping out at only 70 degrees. Our next storm system moves in tomorrow.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the happy face truck today.
With staggering strength and enduring persistence, a tornado overtook Nashville March 3rd, 2020. The vicious tornado ravaged East Nashville. But it is with great excitement to announce the grand reopening of Boom Boss Craft Pizza and Tap House in East Nashville in early April. The playground will be back for all the kiddos. An all-new 44-foot indoor-outdoor bar plus 50 big screen TVs, their signature video wall, and of course, their award-winning craft pizza. Boom Boss is Nashville strong and now hiring. Live interviews every day except Sunday from 10 to 5 at Boom Boss Craft Pizza and Tap House in East Nashville.
Hey, it's Mark Howard here to tell you about my friends at Apple Collision Centers. Listen, nobody likes to be in an automobile accident. Let Apple Collision ease your stress and take care of your vehicle repair. They're homegrown here in Nashville, conveniently located around Old Hickory Lake with 3 locations. Ask for Tommy Rippey in Old Hickory, Daniel Neville in Hendersonville, or Chris Brooks in Gallatin, who combined for over 75 years experience. Let them know Mark sent you, and they'll take great care of you. Online at applecollisioncenters.com.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and I'm so excited that baseball is back. There's nothing quite like watching a game with the great sunny weather, maybe a cold drink at the game as well, and, of course, a little action on FanDuel Sportsbook as well. If you've never bet on baseball before, now is the perfect time to give it a shot. FanDuel is letting new users swing for the fences risk-free, which means you can get up to $1,000 back if your first bet doesn't win. And once you have an account, you can get up to $25 back each day if your same-game parlay bet falls one leg short. This way, you can combine multiple bets for an even bigger win all season long. And when you win on FanDuel, they'll pay you in as little as 24 hours. So just download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code ROB to get in on the action. That's FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code ROB. You must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline at 1-800-889-9789.
Robbie Stanley.
I feel like this could be the start of something special.
Joe Rexrode.
I think it means that we've got, like, the toilet bowl competition is very strong.
Your morning started with Robbie and Rexrode every weekday from 6 to 10 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app. If you've missed any of today's show, just search Darren, Daunic, and Chase on Apple, Spotify, or on your favorite podcast platform.
Elliot Friedman coming up at 1 o'clock to kick off the final hour of the program. You hear the music. Let's go over to our master's desk. Chase is standing by.
Oh, it's me. It's me again this time. Am I the official Masters leaderboard guy? Is that what we're going with?
Well, I kind of felt like you sat down at the desk, so no.
Yeah, no, I'm ready. I'm good.
Okay.
I just wanted to, confirm that.
I mean, you don't have to do it in your Jim Nance voice every time.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
Matsuyama leads the way through 13 at 4 under par. I can't say his name. I
Paul
can't.
Bissonnette. Is that
Paul
Biznasty?
Yeah, Biznasty. That's what we're gonna go with. He and Simpson, Casey, and Leishman are all tied for second at 3 under. I wish I had an attempt, and
You've done that every time. You're like,
the Zoidenhoot.
That actually might be it.
Excuse you.
Excuse you. Zoidenhoot. That was good. All right. For 6, tied for 6, Zalatoris, Harmon, Reed. They are all at 2 under. A slew of players, including Bubba Watson and Kim. Kim was up at the top, now at 1 under. Kim through 16, Bubba through 13. Looking on down the leaderboard, Kisner at even par through 15. DJ, Dustin Johnson at even through 11. Scheifele also at even through 10. And
Mark
John
Scheifele
Ram
from the Jets?
Yes,
Is he
Mark
playing
Scheifele.
golf today?
Yes, he is.
maybe with Blake Wheeler.
Yes, he is. There you go. Zach Johnson also at even, but just through 4. So Phil Mickelson has just teed off through 1. He is at even par as well. So there you go. There is your Masters leaderboard, brought to you by T-Mobile.
T-Mobile, America's largest and fastest 5G network. I was just reading a tweet during the break from Chris Lee, who covers Vanderbilt athletics. He tweets out, I just spoke to a source at Vanderbilt with knowledge of the hosting situation. I was told in no uncertain terms that Vanderbilt will be submitting a bid for a regional and presumably a super as well. So consider that a settled issue.
Was that ever up for?
I was just say, did I miss something? Is that a surprise? That
I don't know. There must have been a reason he's putting that out there. But
right,
if we know Tim Corbin, we know that I don't think he was going to settle for not having the ability to host.
And that team, no, I don't think so.
Are they pretty good? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, I'm just, maybe it's early. I know Willie gets a little unsettled when I start throwing that stuff out there.
Guys,
it's too early. It's too early for that stuff. Don't make Jakes in them.
Well, I got to tell you.
But he's not even doing that, which tells you he's confident.
Well, I'll tell you, I was in the camp of, let's see all of these guys who have never played any SEC games, right? Their everyday lineup. And really, quite honestly, a lot of their pitchers haven't really pitched in the SEC. But the lineup in particular is way better than even I thought it would be. If you have not seen Carter Young play shortstop, he's a switch hitter, and he's an incredible fielder. I mean, I'm not going to put the Dansby Swanson. I will quote Tim Corbin. This is what was passed along. I was watching them against LSU. And the quote was, he's, in so many words, it's not completely a bad comparison in terms of fielding, right? We'll see about the hitting, but Carter Young, I've seen homer from both sides of the plate. He's got power. That's just one example. But some of these other guys, they've got this kid Enrique Bradfield in center. He can fly. He's one of the fastest guys they've ever had. He's an energizer, kind of Tony Kemp-esque. So long story short, the young top-level recruits, right, that we knew were talented, they've adapted to the league extremely well so far. That's the best sign. That's why I think they put themselves in contention, for a championship here.
What I would like to know is everybody knows that Vanderbilt is going to be, probably the odds-on favorite. People are going to pick them to win it again. The question is, and we've talked about this a little bit with Vince, like how real or for real are the Tennessee Volunteers?
That's
are their Vols the real deal? They're a top 5 team in the country. So are they really that good? I mean, that's what I'm really curious about.
Well, Vanderbilt goes to Knoxville, not this weekend, but next weekend. So that'll be a really interesting series to watch.
Yeah. And
will they only play one series against Tennessee?
Yeah. During the regular season. Yeah. Then they could beat up in the SEC tournament. But yeah, you never play more than one series.
Vanderbilt will kick off their series hosting Georgia tonight. Kamar Rocker and Luke Wagner will be on the bump. Of course, Rocker's 7-0 on the season. His ERA, 0.84. 0.84.
Ben McDonald, the great LSU right-hander, first pick in the draft back in the day, great Cajun voice, looks the part, perfect SEC analyst, in my opinion. He said, you know what? I'm not a math major, but when both ERAs of Leiter and Rocker add up to about 1, you've got some pretty good pitchers.
Well, Leiter will go on Friday night against Ryan Webb. And Ryan Webb is 3.14 ERA. Okay, that's not
pretty
bad.
good.
Luke Wagner, 2.95. Not bad, right?
Not bad. Pretty good. I'd take that.
Rockers is 0.84. Jack Leiter's ERA, 0.43.
It's really incredible.
He's also 7-0. It's no secret. It's the best 1-2 punch in the country. They're probably going to go 1-2 in the MLB draft. But yeah, their ERAs this season are 0.84 and 0.43. Leiter and Rocker. Good luck with that. Whoever you are in the SEC or whoever you are playing Vanderbilt.
And the scary part is they're starting to figure out the Sunday, right?
And think about Saturday, they haven't even announced yet.
Right.
So Saturday.
Game 3 of a series. I say Sunday,
right.
But they've been playing Thursday, Friday, Saturday the last few weeks. But Thomas Schultz is the guy that they've been going with in game 3, but he got roughed up a couple times. He's starting to come around, but they have other options, and this is what they just have so many different arms, but the roles are starting to work themselves out. So that I think is, and that obviously when you get to postseason, Leiter and Rocker can't pitch every game, right? You've got to have a 3 and a 4 and your bullpen laid out there. That's what they've been working on right now.
We've talked about a lot of big-time pitchers that have come through here at Vanderbilt and on Tim Corbin's watch, right? Whether it's Walker Buehler or Sonny Gray and all these guys that have moved on, that have played in the bigs. This is the best 1-2 punch they've ever had, right?
I think so.
Can you make the who's the 1-2 punch that you could make a case for?
Well, they had Tyler Beatty and Walker Buehler and Carson Fulmer, right? So that's a pretty good 1-2-3, 3 major league guys. They had Carson Fulmer and Walker Buehler. That's a pretty good 1-2. But with all due respect to those guys, I don't think those guys' numbers were quite as good. I mean, we still got a long way to go, right? There's still several regular season weekends.
Oh, here's Coach Will. Well, Coach Willie, I knew he was going to come out
just
eventually.
judging by the level of dominance that you're seeing with those guys so far.
You just called a timeout. Said, guys, huddle up. Here we go.
Let's settle down, guys.
You know what I'm saying, though. I mean, Carson Fulmer and Walker Buehler, that's a lot of skins on the wall. Those two guys won a lot of games, right? And they've turned out. Carson Fulmer has a chance. Keep an eye on him. He's now back in Cincinnati, not back in Cincinnati, but he's been joined back with Derek Johnson, his pitching coach at Vanderbilt, who resurrected Sonny Gray, right? Sonny Gray's now back to being an ace. They put him back with DJ, as they called him. That's the same idea with Carson Fulmer. It's early. We'll see. But he's coming out of the bullpen now for Cincinnati after getting bounced all over the place to different spots. But
I think it's look. They're
like I'm
like
thinking,
I said,
Price and Minor were
Price
together
and
on the same
Minor,
staff.
That's not bad,
Not
obviously. But just there's nothing I think you can come up with that really. And you're right. The full body of work is not complete, but the way it's going, right? They're just completely. I mean, whenever we're doing a pick six, and it's the over under of hits in a game in an SEC tilt on the road, LSU is 3.5 hits. Like that's a whole different level. I mean, and by the way, it was the under.
It was the under.
Barely.
That's just a different level. So I don't think that there's been a better 1-2 punch. There's still a ways to go, as you said, but I think you're going to be – I don't know what it would take. And I guess them being human the rest of the way and just, I just don't see it. I just think this is what they are, and they're just going to be that good, and it's going to be the best combo that Vanderbilt's ever seen. And listen to some of the names that we were just ripping off. Those guys were pretty darn good at Vanderbilt. It's not, they've won national championships in baseball at Vanderbilt. So they've had great players come through, and this may be the best that we've ever seen. It's pretty amazing. So if you haven't seen them, that's another thing. What is the situation, real quick, before we get out of here?
Limited.
So
I don't know
have the ability. Okay. Like you do have the ability to to see them.
I think there's some limited seating.
Well, if you do get a chance, if the opportunity arises where you can go see this, you may not ever get a chance like this again to see this type of talent come through. Go see them. It's impressive to watch. All right, we'll come back. Elliot Freeman to start the final hour of the program. That's next.
This is Philip Forsberg, and this is Smashville. Forsberg knows a new stick coming off the bench. Forsberg in front, he scores! Philip Forsberg, what a play! You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
This hour of Darren, Daunic, and Chase brought to you by Train. Get a great deal this spring on a new Train heating and cooling system. At Train, they test so it runs. Visit traininfo.com to find your local dealer and learn more. It's hard to stop a train.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Pro Golf is back in Nashville. Mark your calendar for the Simmons Bank Open May 6th through the 9th. You can see the next wave of PGA Tour stars, plus there'll be fun music events and amazing food. Be a volunteer and get a behind-the-scenes look at the daily operation of a PGA Tour event. To volunteer or to purchase tickets, go to SimmonsBankOpen.com. All military veterans, first responders, and healthcare workers will be admitted free. The Simmons Bank Open helps raise funds for the Snedeker Foundation. Go to SimmonsBankOpen.com for tickets and event information.
Need some cash for that home improvement project? Hey, it's Willie Daunic. Loan Pronto can make it happen with their zero-cost refi program. Now listen, Loan Pronto is now here. It's changing forever how you'll get a home loan with lower rates, no lender fees, and an all-digital, no-hassle process. You can refinance your home mortgage now and get cash out of your home's equity. People getting checks for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. Now that's a stimulus check. Hey, rates are still super low, and Loan Pronto's all-digital platform makes it easy. They can cover your closing costs. Call now. Get cash out now to fix up that home office or remodel your kitchen or even pay off credit cards. Loan Pronto's zero-cost cash-out refi. 615-499-5780. 499-5780, area code 615, or loanpronto.com. 499-5780.
Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781. Subject to lender approval. Not available on all loans.
Betting fans, want great up-to-the-minute information to wager your next bet? Tune in for Moneyline every Friday night at 6 p.m. on 102.5 The Game. Chase McCabe and Ryan Porth will give you an hour of betting information. Brought to you by Twin Spires. Download their betting app today.
It's time for some straight talk. Sure, saving money feels good,
But cutting your wireless bill in half, that feels really good. Like walk-off home run in the 9th inning kind of good. Okay, maybe not that good, but pretty darn good. With Straight Talk, you can get 25 gigs of high-speed data for $45 a month, up to 50% less than the other guys. Plus, no contract. All on America's best networks. Why pay a whole lot when you can pay half? Straight Talk Wireless. No contract, no compromise.
Nashville's best sports talk, locally owned, home of our Nashville Predators. WPRT-FM Pegram, 97.5 Murfreesboro, WBUZ HD2 Laverne, online at thegamenashville.com. We are
ESPN
102.5 The Game. Live from the Wholesale Link Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com. It's time for Darren, Daunic, and Chase. With hosts Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe. On Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Final hour, Darren, Daunic, and Chase here on this Thursday afternoon. Predators tonight will play their final game in the regular season against the Red Wings up at Little Caesars Arena in Detroit. Puck drop at 6:30. Pete Weber and Hal Gill on the call. I'll have pregame for you starting at 5:30. And everything is heard right here on ESPN 102.5 The Game. Darren McFarland, Willie Daunic, and Chase McCabe with you. Now we say hello to Elliot Friedman. We talk to him at this time every Thursday from Sportsnet. 31 Thoughts is his podcast. Check it out. And, of course, Hockey Night in Canada. Elliot, a deal has been struck as we sit 5 days from the NHL trading deadline between two teams in the Predators division, Chicago and Florida. What did you make of it?
Well, what I make of it is that I think Florida is creating room to do some other things. It's the second deal that two of those guys have made during a week, and both of them have cleared cap space off of Florida. One was Vinny Hinostroza for a minor leaguer, and now this one today. Riley Stillman, I think, with a young defenseman who went from Florida to Chicago, wasn't playing very much in Florida. I think he was looking for a change of scenery. Henrik Borgstrom was a first-rounder a couple of years ago. He'd gone home to Finland and was playing there, and I'd heard he wasn't going to come back to Florida. So I think it's a situation, and Florida was looking to move Connolly's salary. So I think it's a situation where they wanted to open up some room. They gave Chicago a couple of young players that Chicago's going to try. And now I'm very curious to see what Florida's going to do with the extra cap space. I think they're going to try to add.
Is this because of the Ekblad injury? What do you think they're gearing up for? Or just truly they're trying to find a piece to push them over the top because they're in the thick of everything. They probably feel down in Sunrise that they have a good enough team to go the distance.
I think it's a combination of both, really. I think I'm a big believer in, players speak. Players tell you by the way they play as to what you should do. And their players have spoken loud and clear that they're a good team this year. So I think that that's exactly what's happened. I think they feel they should add anyway. I think that, I think they were going to add anyway. And now with Ekblad's injury, look, I think he's impossible to replace. I really do. The year he was having, he's such a horse. I don't know if you're replacing that, but I think that they want to try to do the best they can. So one of the guys I think Florida's potentially looking at is David Savard from Columbus. Don't forget the current GM of the Panthers is Bill Zito, who used to be the AGM in Columbus. People like guys they know. He's an unrestricted free agent after this year. I could see him being the kind of guy that they're looking at. But I do think that Florida looks at it like, this is a big year. They've played well. If we can add, we're going to try. And I think that's the kind of thing they're going to do.
What did you make of the deal struck between the Devils and the Islanders?
Well, I wasn't surprised that it didn't leak because Lou Lamoriello was involved. We all knew that the Islanders were going to add up front, and they did. Palmieri, he's a perfect Islander kind of player, like a talented guy who thinks team. I think that's the right fit. Travis Zajac, Lamoriello loves him. He had him in New Jersey. They drafted him there. He gave him his last contract extension, I believe, was there. And also, Zajac last year, they tried to trade for him, and he said no. And this time he changed his mind. So, I think that, I think Toronto was around there. I think Boston having trouble figuring out guys because I've heard they're not crazy about rentals. And, I think they've kind of been around there, but I don't know if they were as deep into it as Toronto and New Jersey were, or Toronto and the Islanders were. But I wasn't surprised at all that was the player the Islanders got because we were all kind of expecting it to be the case.
Boone Jenner is out for the year for Columbus.
Yes.
You brought up the Blue Jackets just a moment ago. If this just continues to be what they are the rest of the way, and they're on the outside looking in when it's all said and done after 56 games, what do you think is the fallout, or is there a fallout in Columbus?
I think a lot of us are wondering about Tortorella. He doesn't have a contract next year. Do they want him back? Does he want to come back? I think we're all kind of sitting there and wondering that question ourselves. I think they're going to make some changes. They've got some UFAs. Savard, I don't think is coming back. I think that's why they're going to trade him. It's going to be interesting on Foligno because his family really likes Columbus and they like him. We'll see where that goes. I think the other one there that's interesting for me is I think they're going to want an answer from Seth Jones on what his long-term plans are. I honestly believe they're going to make him a big offer and see what he wants to do. And based on, because he's got one more year and then he's not a restricted free agent, I think they're going to want some clarity on what he's thinking so they can plan their future. I believe this season, and also you've got to sign Patrick Laine, right? And he's still got a couple of years till he's an unrestricted free agent. But, we're at the point where you want to know. I think Columbus wants some certainty. I think there's been a lot of uncertainty in the last year or two. And I think they're going to want some certainty from their guys, and they're going to try to get it.
Elliot, I just want to know your opinion because I think we always go, and this just really this applies to any sport, professional sports team. We always like, oh, you can't trade within your division, like anybody but inside your division. So I'm just going to play this out and just ask you, how would you handle this? And you just brought up Florida. Okay, so you're right. You can't replace an Ekblad, but let's just say they look around and they go, you know what, we can't. He's so important to us, but I'll tell you what, we can get really darn close. And let's just say they made the most aggressive offer. And I'm also not throwing this out there because I know anything. I'm just using this as an example. And let's say that they said, well, but you know what? For now, adding Ekholm and then for the stretch run, that would be quite a piece to add to this roster. And David Poyle's best offer is a team within the division. It's Florida, and it's the most aggressive offer for in the division. And let's just say if you don't want to use Ekholm, then use Granlund, and it's Carolina or Tampa. The most aggressive, the best package in front of you is within your division. How would you handle that? And because we always kind of toss it to the side and say, oh, well, you can't do that. But can you? Give us your philosophy on that.
Like, are you saying that you can't trade with Florida? Like that kind of thing?
I'm just saying people, right, fans automatically go, you can't trade within the division. Yeah, but what if the best offer, and it's not even really that close, is within your division? And, oh, by the way, in this case, a division that's going to change after this season. How do you think that should be handled?
The way I look at it is this. If it's not close, you make the deal. If I had, let's just say for argument's sake, if I had Ekholm and I said, okay, we've got to trade him for whatever reason. For example, if your division rival has the best offer and it's not close, but you don't have to trade him, I'm probably not doing it. But unless you really feel you have to. But if you've decided that you have to make the trade and your best offer by far comes your division, then I think you're being silly if you don't do it. it can blow up on you. Like this whole thing with Eichel. I think there's a decent chance he's getting traded, if not now, than this off season. And I could see, I could see Buffalo saying, we'd really prefer not to give him to the Rangers. If it's close, maybe you send him somewhere else if that's the way it goes out. But, if they give you the best offer, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you don't do it. So I understand that sometimes you don't want to do that and you hold your nose and you're worried about it blowing up in your face like a grade 10 chemistry experiment. But I think if you decide you've got to make the deal and that's the best offer by far, you hold your nose and you make the deal.
We're talking to Elliot Friedman. And Elliot, you've just documented, some issues that Columbus has. We've talked about Chicago, who's still certainly right in the mix. You've got Dallas in some of your notes actually trading off, a guy like Jamie Oleksiak, who you mentioned, who, he's a really good player for them. They lose to Chicago head-to-head. They play again tonight, and it's almost like a last man standing. It's such an interesting dynamic where we talk solely about the Predators, as you would imagine, right? And should they trade Granlund? Should they not trade Granlund? What about Ekholm? These things. But it's interesting perspective. All these other teams fighting for fourth place are in a similar boat in that they've all got their own issues. And, how much are we trying to get fourth and how much are we having to eye the big picture here?
I think, to be honest, I think that what happens is you look at the one thing that is kind of weird this year is that, I had some people tell me, okay, do we go for the playoffs when there's going to be no real reward for making the playoffs? In the sense that you're not really going to be able to have a lot of fans in the building. And, I brought that up to a couple of people and they said to me, fine, I can buy that argument. But what happens if you make the playoffs? How many more tickets do you sell for next year when we think there's going to be fans in the building? And I think that's, a really fair point. That I think what some of these teams are going to be weighing is, if we go and we get in, how much healthier is our financial picture going to be? Or does it not just mean anything at all? And I do think people I don't think there's a lot of teams right now that want to take on money. I think there's more teams that want to get rid of money. But I think that what's happened is that some teams there's not a lot of buyers, but the teams that really think they can win are like, okay, let's go for it. And the teams that are around the cut line, like Nashville is, I think what they're looking at is, A, what's the financial benefit to going for it? Do we think we're going to sell more tickets next year? B, is there really anything we can get that's going to make us better, that makes sense for us to make the deal? Or look what New Jersey had to do to get a first rounder. They traded 2 players. They had to take half the money, and they took 2 prospects that really aren't big-time prospects. And they got what they wanted, but it was hard. So I think a lot of people are looking at what's the reward. Now, if we just have to strip money because we're not making anything this year, I get that. But I think some teams are looking at it like, you know what? Is it worth taking a shot at it, even if we don't make as much money this year, because it helps us more for next year? And I think some teams are going to look at it that way. I've been told in a couple of cases they'd rather go for it than make a bad deal that makes them look like they just gave something away for no good reason.
Well, that goes. I had this thought, last week when you talked about a Brian Burke story when he said, I wasn't going to deal a guy for less than his value, and I thought about that a lot. Like Adam Vingan wrote a piece about maybe a comparable for Mikael Granlund, for example, is what the Canadians gave up to get Eric Stahl, a third and a fifth.
Yeah.
I would have a hard time walking into my coach's office and saying, I just traded Mikael Granlund for a third and a fifth, especially with Granlund being right now the most important with all these guys hurt. Like, he is the glue holding them together. If you watch them every night, it's not really showing up in goals and assists, but he's in every facet of the game. And the same is true of Ekholm on the blue line. So to me, if you can't get a haul for one of those guys, I just can't see how you do it, especially with don't you have to sort of reward your team for how hard they've worked to get to this point?
Well, I would have said a month ago the answer was no in Nashville, but now I would say that there's a better chance the answer is yes. And here's the other question that you guys can answer better than me because you're there. Do you think it matters to the Predators to make the playoffs?
Yes.
Like some teams are just punting on this year. Would the Predators rather punt or make it?
I think they would rather make it for sure. Now, it's a complex. That's a simple answer to a pretty complex question, as you just laid out a lot of the factors there. But I think they want to get there.
Then I don't think you're doing that. Like, don't forget the others. The reason that Buffalo got 2 picks for Stahl is Montreal had a ton of picks. I think they had like 14. If it wasn't a team that had that many picks, they weren't getting. I don't think they were getting those 2 picks. Like I'm hearing. Like I said, look at everything New Jersey had to do to get a first rounder. And they said the first rounder was important to them, so they made it work the way that they did. I had no problem with that. But, that shows you how hard it is. Like, I'm hearing guys out there, like some guys who are rentals, 4th rounder, 5th rounder, the prices aren't high because there's not too many buyers. And so the buyers are squeezing the sellers. And to be honest, all things being equal, if I was the Predators and let's just say I was being offered a 3rd and a 5th for Granlund, I'd look at where I am in the standings and I'd say, let's take our chances.
Yeah, I get that. I want to ask you, here in Nashville, you remember this, Elliot, the Titans had an outbreak, right? And it was the first outbreak in the NFL, and they got scrutinized from all angles. They got hammered, right? Because there was an assumption they must have broken a bunch of protocols, right? It must have been. And as they looked at it closer and closer, the end result was, hey, it wasn't as bad as it looked like it was perceived. I know there's a lot of stuff swirling around how it got started with the Canucks. I was reading your notes column on this, but it's a tough situation for Vancouver. Give us your perspective on how it's, how is it being looked at up there, and how much, they're having to say, well, this is our bad, or this is just one of those things that I think this is what we concluded in Nashville, that, this thing can happen even if you're trying to do the right things.
Well, yesterday the Canucks put out a statement that was a bit of an eyebrow raiser. They basically came out and said, we have 25 positive tests. I think it was 21 players and 4 staff, in addition to 1 player on the taxi squad. And they said it was because, and I'm not looking at it exactly, but it was basically a close contact went into the community and got it, and it spread through the team that way. So now the one thing I know, and if you read the column, you saw me write this, I heard the Canucks were really questioned hard by the league. The league was very skeptical about what happened.
And that's exactly what happened to the Titans. They got scrutinized hard by the league, no question.
Yeah. And this statement yesterday made it sound, or actually just never mind made it sound, it came right out and said that there was an individual who was a close contact with a player who went into the city. I can't remember if it said restaurant, but that's what we're all thinking what it was, a restaurant. And it spread through the team. So that's, and the NHL did send out a pretty stern memo on the weekend saying we cannot be slipping up right now. Now, the other part that you guys might not be aware of is that there's, it's not confirmed yet, but everybody believes that the strain that's going through the Canucks is the Brazilian variant, which is very aggressive and very challenging. Like with COVID, some people get it really bad, some people don't. Of all the outbreaks that have happened in the NHL this season, I've heard that this is the worst one in terms of the the people who suffered symptoms, they got it the worst. And I know I've communicated with some, and they said it's like being run over by a truck. You know, I think it's going to be a big challenge there. The NHL wants them to finish their games. I don't think they're going to play until the end of next weekend, maybe 10 days from now till the earliest. There's a chance their AHL players could get called up to replace NHLers who don't return this year. It's a really tough situation, but it's clear from the team's statement and what I heard that they believe that someone went to like a restaurant or something that shouldn't have done it.
We're talking to Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet, getting the latest around the NHL with him. And along those lines of finishing the season and then moving into the playoffs, is there, and I was reading a little bit of this in your column, is there a chance that they're going to bubble again? That's ultimately what they're going to have to do just to keep everything on time and on track and to get through the playoffs?
I'm beginning to from what I'm reading in the States, it sounds like more and more of these teams are getting vaccinated. You know, New York is 16 years old now, or 18 years old, or whatever it is. And the Rangers made it clear that they had their option to vaccinate this week. Like, it's purely anecdotal. I think there's a lot of people who won't talk about it, but it sounds like in the States where you guys are way ahead of us and you're vaccinating, 3-4 million people a day. I don't know if that's going to be necessary, but I know, and I'll tell you this, like when we reported on Saturday night, I had a couple teams tell me that like players were just screaming about the possibility. And one of them texted me to say, "Are you trying to scare us?" To which I said, "No, I'm really not that scary." Canada, we're way behind on vaccinations. For those of you who don't know, we're way behind you. For example, in a lot of places in the country, it's still 55 and over. So I think they're worried about it. I think they have a contingency plan. I think they're creating one just in case they have to. You know, and where I live in Ontario, we just went back into lockdown today for a month.
Oh. And
I don't think we're going to be the only ones. So I do think they're going to have to come up with a contingency plan for Canada because, we just saw what happened in Vancouver.
So what do you think that means, and you may not have a good answer for this, but what do you think that means for next season and trying to get everything going again?
I've got to think everything's going to be done by next season. I mean, if I shudder to think what's going to happen in Canada if we don't have everybody vaccinated by the start of next season. I can't imagine. I mean, I know we've completely mishandled it from top to bottom, but our vaccination, but I just can't imagine it's going to be that bad. I refuse to believe it for my own mental being, never mind the National Hockey League.
Fair enough. So with that, you were talking about some of the money earlier, and we've asked you about different players that make big money that have been put on waivers. Is there, in your mind, just your opinion, just how long do you think it's going to take for the league to recover some of this, for the cap to start to move the other direction? Seattle's in the league. Is there do you have an idea of kind of just the recovery, I guess, timetable?
Well, I think you'll start to see some of the recovery when everybody can start having attendance. It'll start getting better. When the Canadian teams can start having attendance, it'll start getting better. We'll see what the second part of this US TV deal is. I'm very curious about gambling partnerships and what that's going to do. But the cap, guys, isn't going to move for years. And the reason that's the case is, this is very technical, but I'll try to explain it as easy as possible because sometimes when I do it, my own head spins. Basically, the revenue is supposed to be shared 50-50. Players get 50%, teams get 50%. This year, and there's something that's put in, it's like when you buy a house, there's an escrow that gets held back and to make sure it's 50-50. Because of this year, the players getting most of their salaries, it's about 72%. and the revenues being so down, the split is more towards the players than it's ever been. At the end of this season, depending on who you're talking to, the players are going to owe the league somewhere close to $1 billion. And the cap is not going up until that money is paid, absence of some other agreement. So I think it's going to be a while before that's paid. So I don't like teams. I've had teams telling me they don't think the cap is going to go up maybe for 4 or 5 years. They could be right. They could be wrong, but they're preparing for that. So I think the revenue, once fans come back, you'll start to see the repairing, but the cap moving, I think it's going to be a while.
Wow. 4 or 5 years. Whew. Interesting. Elliot, good stuff as always. Really appreciate the visit. Have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
You too. That is Elliot Friedman from Sportsnet. Always a pleasure on Thursdays at 1 o'clock. I want to talk to you about Cool Springs MD. It's always a pleasure to talk about them. They've been helping me for years improve my quality of life, and who doesn't want that as we all age? And I know they've helped a lot of you out there listening become healthier and happier. Once again, who doesn't want that as we all get a little bit older? They've been in this market since 2007. Dr. Jeffrey Lodge is the board certified physician. His wife, Daphne, is the registered nurse, and their experienced staff do so many things under one roof. And they would love to improve your immune systems, your energy levels, your cognitive function, and so much more. They're there to help you. They've got a state-of-the-art facility that can help you in a variety of ways there in Cool Springs at 1642 Westgate Circle. And maybe you've tacked on some unwanted pounds recently. Usually, as in your adult life, you probably have always, or you've reached that stage where you've tacked on some unwanted pounds. You can talk to them about that. They've got programs and products and people that can get you headed in the right direction. Rejuvenation. As we all get older, your appearance should still be important. You can talk to them about PRP, hair removal, Botox. They cover all those grounds, and also hormone therapy. Maybe you've been feeling off lately, haven't felt yourself, and you're wondering what's going on. Don't have the drive or the energy that I normally have, or maybe you've had some mood swings. Get your levels checked, because if your levels have dipped, that could affect you in one or all of those areas. And you can discuss BHRT, testosterone, and estrogen with the folks at Cool Springs. If you need to schedule an appointment or a consultation, dial this number, 615-283-7291. That's 283-7291, or you can always go to their website and learn everything about them. And that website is coolspringsmd.com.
The NHL trade deadline is coming up April 12th.
I think most fans would still like to see something done in the name of helping the future of the franchise.
What will the Predators do before that date?
If you're still a seller and you just keep winning, you just know what that means. That means the price tag's going up.
The only place to get coverage of your Predators at the trade deadline is Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
1025 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What's better than watching a Preds game live? Watching a Preds game live from a suite with your friends. Thanks to Kroger and Dr. Pepper, you could win that awesome experience. How do you enter? Well, it's simple. Visit your local Middle Tennessee Kroger. Take a picture with the Dr. Pepper and the Preds reusable grocery bag. Post it to social media tagging the Preds, Kroger, and Dr. Pepper. Lucky winners will be chosen at random to win a suite for an upcoming game. All proceeds of the Preds reusable bag benefit Vanderbilt Children's Hospital. So head to your local Kroger and pick up a bag today. No purchase or payment is necessary to enter or win. A purchase or payment will not increase your chances of winning. Odds of winning will depend on the total number of eligible entries received for the applicable sweepstakes or promotion. Void where prohibited by law.
I'm so excited, baseball bag. Hey, everybody, Joe Rexha here to let you know this is a great game, especially with great weather, a cold drink, a hot dog, some peanuts. But listen, if you've never bet on baseball before, now's the perfect time to give it a shot. FanDuel is letting new users swing for the fences risk-free. You will get up to $1,000 back if your first bet doesn't win. And once you have an account, you can get up to $25 back each day if your same-game parlay bet falls one leg short. That's part of the reason FanDuel Sportsbook is America's #1 sportsbook. It's an easy-to-use app with great odds on all different betting markets, unique fun bet types like the same game parlay, and then always on promotions to let you get more action on every game day. And of course, when you win on FanDuel, you get your winnings in as little as 24 hours. So download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and sign up with promo code Joe102 to get in on the action. That is FanDuel Sportsbook, promo code Joe102. You must be 21 and older, present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only for risk-free bet. Refund issued as a non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Restrictions apply. See sportsbook.fanduel.com for details. If you have a gambling problem, call the Tennessee Red Line at 800-889-9789.
Zines First is the official sign company for 1025 The Game. Go to sfnash.com.
Every sports fan knows that game day is not complete without a tailgate experience. With social distancing in place, 1025 The Game and T-Mobile want to help you continue the tradition with a hockey home gating party. Listen weekdays for the keyword to text and win. Each week, we'll choose one lucky hockey fan to win the T-Mobile hockey home gating experience, complete with food, dessert from Nothing Bundt Cake, Dos Equis beer, and a prize pack from T-Mobile. You're bound to have the best home gate in the neighborhood. Happy home gating from 1025 The Game and T-Mobile.
The Power T Podcast with Robbie Stanley.
There's a lot of rich history, obviously, but it's also been a place that has been an absolute dumpster fire.
With the latest on the Big Orange in Knoxville.
Jawan Jennings!
Check out the Power T Podcast every Tuesday on your favorite podcast platform or thegamenashville.com.
Hey, this is Pete Weber. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk. ESPN 1025 The Game.
Daunic and Chase, ESPN 1025 The Game. Appreciate Elliot Friedman for joining. As always, you can catch him every Thursday at 1 here on the show. Chase McCabe, Willie Daunic, Darren McFarland, Elijah Campbell back at the Wholesale Link Studios, powered by RumbleOn.com. So, Willie, go Preds again tonight, taking on the Detroit Red Wings, and we know how important every game is to this point to try and get those 2 points as they fight towards a playoff position. But I thought it was interesting what Elliot brought up there of, you know, teams that are punting on the season or teams that need the playoffs, teams that are still fighting for the playoff position. And I agree with you. I think the Predators are in that boat of they want to make it and they want to do what's best for the team moving forward. But I think they view that what's best for the team moving forward is making the playoffs.
Well, it would. I mean, you want to have your cake and eat it too. But I mean, do you disagree, Chase? I mean, when he says, "Do you want to make the play?" It's certainly not a wash. Like, I think from a financial standpoint, you know, little by little, you know, he was talking about New York and places. We know that here in Nashville, it's 16 and up now for vaccinations. The vaccinations are really the key to how quickly you can get more fans in there, you know, regardless of your individual opinion on, you know, your choice of whether to get vaccinated or you're thinking about it, hesitant anyway. The bottom line is if we get to a certain point of vaccination, that's going to dictate how quickly we can get more fans opened up and businesses opened up. So it's important. I'm going to get my first shot tomorrow. So, I mean, it's essential in terms of the formula. You heard Elliot talk about the plight of Canada, right? They don't want to go into a bubble, but they're not getting vaccinated as quickly as they need to be to get to that point. So, all that to say, if you told me you could get to, you know, 50% capacity, that's quite a bit of revenue that you wouldn't otherwise have if you hosted a couple playoff games, even if you ended up losing in the first round, right?
Sure.
And he made a good point too about how does it influence your season tickets for next year, your renewals, you know, when hopefully we'll be past this completely. And now you know what you get into, you know, you're going to get, you know, a great Saturday night in Smashville, all that stuff and how we've come to expect it. So all that said, here's the other thing. You know, somebody's got to take fourth, right?
Yeah. You're going to have 4 teams
the
out of
Dallas
each
Chicago
division.
game is huge tonight. Like if Dallas, you know, Dallas has got tonight in Chicago, they've got a game Saturday, I think against Florida, and then they come here to play on Sunday. they're teetering, right? They've got to make it happen if they're going to make a move. But at the same time, you look at the Predators roster. Dante Fabro, I think was a Coach Hines on there this morning, said it doesn't look like he's going to play tonight. There's another guy they're going to lose.
Looks like Arvidsson and Cunnin are in, according to John Hines this morning with Robbie and Rexroad, and then does not look good for Fabro.
So if you take a look at what they've got left, they've got Detroit tonight. It's a patchwork lineup. Can they find a way to win that game? Then you play the champions against Tampa. Then you got Dallas. It's such a hard thing to forecast. But I do see if they can get over the hump injury-wise, and the key would be as they get these guys back, can those guys play the way they're playing?
Right.
Right? Because they're playing a great team game right now. That's the interesting thing, is they've lost a bunch of talent and firepower. But I think what it's taught us is talent and firepower, if they're not playing the right way, you're not going to win. And you can have some depleted parts of your roster, but if everybody's bought in and playing the right way, especially if your goalie's playing well, you can string together some wins. So it's kind of like, why not grab this thing, if it's there? So let's go to the third and the fifth, right? If that's the best offer, Chase, for Mikhail Granlund, you can't trade Mikhail Granlund for a third and a fifth, can you? And walk into your team and say, guys, I just traded a guy that is really keeping us together. He's epitomizing everything about why we've made this run for a third. Now, if it's a first and a prospect or something, then it's like, okay, I get that. I don't know if I could turn that down.
But there's this little piece of me that's thinking just something you mentioned. Let's say in the next week, you get Forsberg back, you get Duchesne back. And we know Forsberg has not been the issue this year, really. I mean, has he gotten a little quiet in the goal column? Sure, but he has been playing night in and night out when he's been in the lineup. But you get Forsberg back, you get Duchesne back. Okay, Arvidsson supposedly back in tonight. You get Ellis here in a couple of weeks, hopefully. You get these guys back, and what's been going on and the way that this team has been playing, I always say that stuff's contagious. And so you get that, and then all of a sudden Duchesne is playing much better. You have Johansson, he's continuing to play better. And it all starts to come together with these guys that are supposed to be your good players. All of a sudden, this getting into fourth, which is, realistically the only spot they're going to get. It's going to be very hard to catch Tampa.
It's fourth or bust. It's fourth or bust.
But all of a sudden, getting into fourth, and then you go into the playoffs, I think that fans would look at that as going, well, this team as a whole is playing lights out right now. You feel a little bit better about your chances. You never know what's going to happen once you get in.
Especially if UC Saros is playing anywhere near the way he's playing right now. And you just illustrated, I think, the perfect storm. That A, you get healthier, and B, not only are they healthy, but they're playing perfectly within the way that they're playing as a team. If that happens, then we're talking about maximizing what they have in there. And then so what's their max? Is it good enough to pull off a big upset in a round? I think history has shown that there's been plenty of teams that just have it come together at the right time, and you can make a run. So it's not completely unrealistic. Now, what they have on the ice tonight, I admire the heck out of the fact that they're continuing to find ways to stay in games because they're just piecing it together.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, I just don't think that formula can get you a playoff round win. But if these guys are holding the fort to where the other guys come back and reinforce and buy in, then you've got something there. And now the worst thing, the double-edged sword, right, is you finish fifth, right? That would be the bummer, that you stand pat and you finish fifth. That's what you have to be able to live with if you do stand pat and you subscribe to, I'm going to give these guys a shot. These guys have earned the right to play for a playoff spot. What it is in the locker room and in the coach's locker room, right? They don't want to hear about next year, especially the players, right? They want a shot.
No, and
they understand the situation, but they want a shot.
I totally get that. I mean, and they should feel that way and want a shot at it. But here's the other thing too, of the way that the way these guys have played. I mean, that's something that you certainly can build off of, even if it doesn't happen for you this year. The way that these young guys are coming in and they're contributing. I mean, that has to make you feel good for what's to come, and building on that, and the chemistry that John Hines has now with his coaching staff, and what Dan Hinote has done, and Todd Richards and Dan Lambert, what they have done to help with these young guys. Of they come in and it's almost like, yeah, are they having some growing pains and welcome to the NHL moment? Sure, you're going to have those, but they're not missing a beat. And then I go back to just you add the others that have been out, you add them back in there and get something out of them, then sky is the limit for what they can be and what they can do moving forward. So I know it's a tough position. I don't envy David Poile for the position that he's in, of offers that could potentially be coming in. Do I take it? Do I walk away? Or do I go for it and see what happens with this team? But right now, and you always use the phrase of getting hot at the right time. I mean, they're 8-2-0 in their last 10. I think that's the definition.
Well, they're hot. Okay, now you're absolutely right. That's hot. But this is the one I think is more important. 15-8-1 in the last 24. So that's a bigger chunk of a season. That's a little bit more of an indicator, because that includes more games against the top teams,
sure.
Right? Which is, you do all the splits, right? I do all the splits. They've only won 3 total against the big 3. So that's your big thing. Hey, can you beat one of those big 3 in a 7-game series? Big question, right? Because they haven't. They've gotten their clock cleaned by those teams. But most of those games were early in the season, before they had what I would call this buy-in. This they're playing the system right now, and now it gives them a better chance. Those games on that road trip, when all the injuries really started to show up, but they found a way to get a win in Tampa and get a win in Florida. That's where I think there was like, wow, we had all these guys out and we still were able to beat these guys. Maybe we should keep playing this way, right? And since then, they've continued to string together wins. But it didn't just start there. They have started to build. They've got the foundation. So again, let's go back to worst case scenario, Chase. You go for it. And when I say go for it, I'm not saying trade assets to bring in and be a buyer, right? I'm just saying stand pat. But the way I think you could justify it and say, okay, we went for it. It didn't work out. But as you said, we played a lot of young guys. There's a lot of young guys that we have a much better read on. We did nothing to deplete our farm system. Our farm system is not bad. It's not the most loaded, but we've got some prospects on the way. Philip Tomasino's on the way.
Yep.
Askarov is going to be a year older. And so, we're still building. But there's a risk involved for sure if that's the route you take. But I just think with each passing game, it looks less and less likely that they're just going to, haul off and trade a couple of guys. Like, if you watch the games, how could you roll out there without Ekholm and Granlund right now?
Couldn't do it.
That'd be hard. I mean, you'd be waving the white flag.
And here's the other thing too. If you stand pat and go for fourth, go for, see what happens in the playoffs, and don't make any moves. The only one that, I mean, you got Hala on a 1-year deal, but let's be honest, the price is not very high for him.
If you got a 7th for him,
sure,
I'd be surprised.
Granlund,
I should say, that's the ballpark, I would think. Don't you think? Low
Granlund's the one that you're going to miss on. You could still, like, if they got to the offseason and they go, okay, you know what's best for this team moving forward is going to be seeing what I can get from Matthias Ekholm. You could still probably get something pretty good for him, because there's a year left on his contract, and you heard Elliott talking about money, and the contract is favorable.
It's a huge thing.
There's an expansion draft, so that's going to help you there too. So it's not like if you don't make moves, it completely just wrecks your franchise either. Now, Darren has said it, that whatever your plan was, that's the plan that you need to stick to. But I think that what has happened over the past few weeks with this team and with the league, I mean, who knows how many trades are really going to be made league wide? I know they're starting to pick up, but I certainly think that that's something that you're going to monitor. It's just, I think everybody should still feel a little bit better that they've turned this around, and the buy-in, I like that phrase that you used. The buy-in was there as they battled down the stretch.
And there's still 3 games left. And
Yep.
I know Darren brought this up strong. Why would 3 games really change your opinion? But the way these 3 games go, I think does factor in a little bit.
Sure.
Because not just with the 3 results for the Predator games, but also what happens with Chicago, Dallas, and Columbus during that time too. Because if you look, Columbus is up against it, right? They've got they have a lot of games against Tampa and Florida. Dallas, we know they're up against it, and you could say Nashville's up against it too, right? But as we look after tonight, well, actually, right now they've got 16 left. 8 are against the big 3.
Yep.
The other 8 are against the others, right? We know the story of how their schedule is broken down. So that's another thing.
You're going to learn a lot. You're going to learn a lot in that time. That is for sure. We'll come back, put a bow on today's show. We'll do that next here on Darren, Daunic, and Chase, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Take us wherever you may go.
There is going to be a whole lot of work going on.
Shoot us in anywhere, anytime.
I think he has some big play in him.
Just search The Game Nashville in your app store and download today. And keep it locked on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN
102.5 The Game.
Hey, let me tell you once again about Loan Pronto. We're really excited about our partnership with them. We want to deliver this message to you. If your current mortgage rate is over 3%, I want you to know that you can refinance now, you can snag a better rate, and Loan Pronto can cover all of your closing costs. They're going to lower that house payment every month. That's going to save you, in a lot of cases, a couple $100. I mean, that is huge. That is money in your pocket. So that's something, if you haven't ever done it before, let me just sound the alarm for you. But if you have refinanced before, you say, Willie, I've been through that process. My goodness, it's such a hassle. I got all this paperwork. Let me tell you, that is what Loan Pronto wants you to know, is that they will take all of that out of there. They're going to simplify and streamline this process for you. So it is not a hassle. And you still get all the benefits of refinancing your home. It's a great way to go. Call more and learn about the zero-cost refi. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com. Also, I didn't mention this as much as I should. There are incredible VA loan rates also available. So if you fit that category, Loan Pronto specializes in VA streamlined loans. And I've talked about all the ways you could use that money. But even if it's just to lower that house payment, it's very important. Call today, 615-499-5780. Just talk to the person and ask if you fit the category of to where they can help you. I'll bet you, if you haven't looked into it before, you'll be really surprised on what they can do for you. It's a Loan Pronto zero-cost refi. 615-499-5780 or loanpronto.com, equal housing lender. NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval. No cash refi, not available on all loans.
From the Fox 17 News Code Red Weather Center.
I'm Fox 17 News Code Red meteorologist Dan Guthrie. Gradual clearing continues. Skies will get sunnier and sunnier this afternoon. However, we will be cooler, topping out at only 70 degrees. Our next storm system moves in tomorrow.
This weather report brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical.
Call the Happy Face Truck today.
Bob's Steak and Chop House is a renowned award-winning steakhouse in major cities across the U.S. Nashville is lucky to have a location here in downtown at the Omni Nashville Hotel. Fine dining is brought to a new level at Bob's with awards like the Wine Spectator Award 4 years in a row, TripAdvisor Certificate of Excellence 5 years in a row, and Open Tables Diner's Choice Award 6 years in a row. Fine dining at its best. Bob's Steak and Chop House, open Wednesday through Saturday, 5 to 10 p.m. in the Omni Nashville Hotel. Complimentary valet parking is always available.
With spring comes birds chirping, azaleas blooming, and the golf course is calling your name. T-Mobile and 102.5 The Game are celebrating spring and giving you and 3 friends the chance to win a stay-and-play experience at Hermitage Golf Course. Tune in each weekday at 4:15 to hear the key word to text in to win. The winner will receive a night stay for 4 at one of Hermitage Golf Course's on-site cottages and a round of golf for your foursome to play both the President's Reserve and the General Reserve courses. Good luck and hit 'em straight from T-Mobile, Hermitage Golf Course, and 102.5 The Game.
At Founders Brewing, we asked ourselves, what if we brewed a beer perfect for any occasion? A beer that makes a weekday feel more like the weekend, and the weekend feel more like an adventure. What if we celebrated taste and flavor and life's simple pleasures? And what if we brewed a beer that could go where you go without slowing you down? What if? Chase your what if with Founders All Day IPA. Low ABV and full flavor that goes where you go. Visit foundersbrewing.com to find All Day IPA.
Jared Stillman.
I mean, I'm serious. Who's going to be the quarterback of the Patriots? You cannot tell me it's going to be Cam.
And company.
Do I think that he had a really, really tough job following the GOAT? Yes, 100% I think he did.
Tune in Stillman and Company for your drive home. Weekday afternoons from 2 to 6 on Nashville's best sports talk.
ESPN.
102.5 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Interact with Darren, Daunic, and Chase. Call or text the show at 615-737-1025. Driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
All right, it is time to get those texting fingers moving. Start doing those exercises because you're going to get a chance to win a Dos Equis prize pack, which includes a case of beer, dessert from Nothing Bundt Cakes, T-Mobile prize pack, and food provided by 312 Pizza Company in Germantown. As always, remember, you must be 21 years of age or older. So Jim was right. It is the end, but we've got some business to take care of before we get out of here. So with that being said, on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025, 737-1025. Text the word hockey. Text the word hockey.
Hockey.
Today's text word is hockey. There you go. Good luck. Keep doing what you've been doing this whole time, which is knocking it out of the park with your participation. With that being said, let's head over to our Masters update desk. Here's Chase.
Yes, thank you, Darren. There is a change at the top of the leaderboard as Webb Simpson and Mark Leishman have taken the top spots, tied for first at 4 under par. Simpson is through 15 and Leishman through 8. Hartman and Matsuyama, I've been wanting to say Hideki Matsui all day. Matsuyama and Harmon are tied for 3rd place as Harmon is done for the day. Matsuyama through 17, they are at 3 under. The group that is 2 under, Zalaros, the guy I can't say, and Buzz, Casey, and M, all at 2 under par. There's a big group at one under par as well that includes Dustin Johnson, who is through 14. Phil Mickelson, also at 1 under through 5. Oosthuizen. Louis Oosthuizen. Oosthuizen. That one's fun to say. Also at 1 under. Jordan Spieth.
Louis. Are you talking about Louis?
Louis. Jordan Spieth is tied for 9th in that group at 1 under, but he is only through 2, just starting his day. Some other notables: Bubba Watson, the former 2-time champ, I believe, through 16 at even. Scheifele at even par through 14 as well. And I just want to say this name because their last name is Nah. How you doing? Nah. Through 7. Nah. DeChambeau also at even par through 3. There's your Masters leaderboard.
Yeah, that incredible update was brought to you by T-Mobile 5G, America's largest and fastest 5G network. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much for calling it incredible. Bzz. Bzz. Oh, is it closing time?
You guys haven't been to Augusta, have you? Either one of you?
No,
I have not.
It's awesome. Although I've had it on, but I haven't really paid attention.
I've had it on.
What is their status with people, the gallery?
I've seen some people.
Okay.
Now I don't know if those are like friends and family or what they are, but I mean members. Yeah, so I don't know. But I've seen some
Here we
people.
go. Here's a shot. Yeah, there are people. Not your normal galleries, but okay. I see some gatherings around some
Are there
greens.
sandwiches?
Oh, that's a great question. The setup that they had the 2 years I went, I don't know if they still are doing it that way. That's a good point. I don't know. We will certainly have you another leaderboard update tomorrow, and we'll close out the week tomorrow. You have a great rest of your day. Continue to be safe. We look forward to talking to you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Stay tuned. Stillman and Company,